Hello and welcome to the Outstanding Podcast. I'm glad we got whatever that comment was into the show. Hi. My name is Sarah, also known as Gamer Draws, and I'm joined by the wonderful Michael Steffen, also known as Funisher, and we have the very wonderful Tim joining us somewhere in the background, in the ether.
Mysteriously.
The mysterious Tim.
Mysterious Tim. Yep.
This show is going to be a little different than normal. So, as you guys remember, last week I had a sore throat, and we did a slightly shorter podcast, and it's like, oh, okay, whatever. Well, the next day I woke up and my voice had literally completely gone. I would try to make a noise and nothing would happen. That didn't come back until about 2 days ago. So my voice is a lot stronger today, but I've promised people that I won't risk it. So I'm only going to be talking every now and then. For most of the podcast, I'm going to have my mic muted, and I'll just be showing my artwork. So I'll be watching the chat, chatting in there. If you're watching live, the chat is there on the YouTube channel. Otherwise, I will also be in the subreddit comments, checking for any new artwork and stuff like that. So you can type at me, but I probably won't be talking very much, just so you guys know.
I don't have anything to say, so I'm not. No, I'm just kidding.
I was just like looking at you like.
My mind went completely blank. I don't know what to talk about anymore.
No, you're done. All right. That's the Outstanding Podcast.
As well, we're just gonna have a completely silent draw notes.
Yeah.
I do wish though that at times it would be fun to be able to like put music in without YouTube erasing my life from.
I think there's ways to do it, but we need to use like non-copyrighted music. I think if we use the music that streamers use, we'll get away with it.
Or me and Tim need to make all of our own original songs for this. Yeah.
I approve of this.
It's gonna be so good. I'll have an episode that it'll be like that episode of Buffy where it was like a musical where everyone had to sing. I don't know, I didn't watch Buffy, I just heard about it.
Every single TV show has that episode.
Well, yeah, I think so, you know, right? I chose Buffy because I figured, you know, we're on Reddit, right? Right? People like comics and...
The lighting's making me look like a ghost.
Hey, that's tricky word bending. I can't even respond to that. You are not a ghost. There we go.
Thanks. Oh. I'm just going to ignore that. Right. We have artwork that we missed for the last show, because if you remember correctly, last show was like half a show. So we're going to share a few of those, just so that guys get stuff shown. So let me just find that. I'm going to jump over to my screen just so I can share it all. Boop-a-doop. And boop-a-doop. This is also the reason why I need to like forcibly mute my mic, because I make stupid goddamn sounds when I know that someone can hear me.
You're gonna hurt your voice making like a whoop-a-doop sound.
I will.
You're gonna have to explain that to people later.
Okay, so for anyone who knows it, and if you don't know it, go look it up because it's amazing. I was singing, well, I had the League of Legends like Championship 2015 music on, and I like started singing it. And I got like to a certain note and my voice vanished, and I was like, I shouldn't have done that. I should not have done that.
You probably will never be able to reach that note again.
No, never again. It's gone forever.
Did you change your League of Legends icon to be the abbreviated version of the name League of Legends instead of just the full spelled out version?
I did. But this is my background at the moment. Although, ignore all this crap that's going on, or whatever.
Well, the first thing you see someone's desktop is you try to read what all their icons are before they can, like, address them.
All of this, except for League of Legends, they're all reference images for commissions I'm working on at the moment. Except for these guys.
Super nice. You drew that? I mean, obviously, right?
No, this is by the amazing Keenan Lafferty, who made a load of the splash art for League of Legends. I believe this was a fan piece that he did, so this wasn't actually on the splash images, I don't think. But he actually worked at League of Legends, and he has a fantastic YouTube channel. For anyone who's interested in like creating artwork for video games, or just like painting, digital painting advice in general, and also life advice, which sometimes we need on this show, go over to KNKL, which is his YouTube channel. You can find that. Just search Google KNKL or Keenan Lafferty and you'll find it. It is a fantastic channel. I definitely recommend it.
I thought you actually did draw it. I was actually serious.
What, really?
Yeah, I don't know.
You think I drew that? Wow,
No,
I wish I could. I'm studying to be able to.
Draw that. Come on now.
I don't know.
I thought you actually did. So, you know.
Oh, I feel so honored. Well, let's see something else that I also haven't drawn. So this is from Bellevue Fine Art. They finished this during the last podcast, and they said they're going to get a scotch and relax after they finished it.
That's the spirit.
So there we go. I'm not entirely sure what the story behind it is or anything like that, but it looks awesome. I believe it was for... Actually, I don't know what it was for. I was going to like lie and be like, oh, I think it was another RGD, but I actually don't know that. I'm not sure if they've even said that.
I was going to actually assume the same thing, but that's a good point. We have no idea. This could have been...
It could be anything. But
you were drawing last week.
Huh?
Oh, I tore it up. That's right. What was it? Oh,
well. They also said that they've been doing 2 4-foot by 6-foot portraits as part of a theatre backdrop.
Right.
And that's had them completely occupied for the past 2 weeks, and they can finally get back to their own stuff, which must feel awesome.
I can't believe that they finished 2 4 by 6-foot portraits in 2 weeks.
I know, holy shit.
I have a 6-foot painting in my studio that's been on the wall for like 2.5 months.
Oh dear.
I'm planning
Although
on...
that sounds like more logical timing to me.
Well, I should be able to start working on it again sometime in January. That'll be exciting.
Sorry, I'm just drinking because my throat's trying to murder me. Okay, so the next piece that we have up that we missed from last week, is this piece. See if you can guess who this is from.
iPad drawing?
I believe it is. Demon said, I'm jumping back to the old thread, Demon said, borrowed an iPad, tuned in now and listening, and then posted the piece of artwork.
That's a really...
I'm just checking if there's any other info on it.
Always a huge fan of the Demon Man iPad drawings.
Also, Demama had like major deer stuff going on this week.
Deer stuff?
Yeah, I was getting like updates on deer stuff. It was stag and doe season or something, and he was trying to harvest a doe, and he got a 7-pointer. I don't know what any of that means, but well done. It was like a competition with his neighbors to get like to harvest the best buck or something.
Nice. Is the buck head on the wall inside of his place?
I don't know. If it is, we need pictures.
My man will provide. I believe in him.
And also, my man warned me to not answer the phone anymore.
What?
Because of last week's stupid fucking phone call. By the way, I found out that I did a little check back on the podcast and noticed that I swapped the names around a few times, so I just wanted to clarify the name from that last podcast. The company that I got the most advertising for was not Halifax, it was Hiscox, just to confirm. Which is an even funnier name.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's a... Man.
An even better name. They're actually like a really massive company here.
Oh my lord.
I know. But like, I felt like I should clarify that so we don't get the wrong company getting evils.
Well, you know what? Because they were gonna hook you up for talking. Be like, hey, you mentioned how much we annoyed you on the phone. We're here to set you up with some free insurance. we just have one question. How many desktop printers do you have?
Get out. I swear to God. But anyway, that is all the artwork from last week. I love this piece. I love that Demand Man included the Buddha, which I don't think anyone else that I saw did. So that's awesome. Or at least who were involved in the podcast. I didn't see the full thread once it was finished.
That's true.
But yeah, very cool.
That's super sweet.
My throat is starting to give out, so I think at this point I am going to hand over the podcast to you.
All right. I'm going to leave this thing and then go to that thing.
Okay. Do you want to let people know the RGD that we're doing?
Not really.
Okay.
All right, hold on a second. Let me switch screens. There we go. I cannot actually verify that my microphone... Wait, okay. So my mic should be working now. It's a little hard when I have two sets of headphones because normally the audio plays through the headphones and I can hear it. But when we have two sets plugged in, we can't hear our own headphones, so it's only the microphone. So I'm also going to jump in the chat to make sure that that is all working properly as well.
I can hear you.
Oh, okay, cool. Thank you.
I don't know if you just heard me ridiculously cough my lungs up. Hopefully you didn't.
No, we missed that.
Okay, good.
Unfortunately.
All right, I'm going to go into vanishing mode, and I may pop back up, but I will be in chat, guys, so keep me entertained in chat.
Yeah, so anything you want to say to Sarah, you can post directly into the chat. And I already forgot what I was supposed to do. I was so busy switching screens, I was supposed to talk about something immediately, and I already forgot what it was.
You were supposed to say what the RGB is.
Oh no, okay, I'm good. I got it now.
This is why I do
everything.
Podcasts.
This is why you're usually here with me, right? I'm the wild card.
You are.
AKA the guy that when the podcast, if it ever gets picked up, becomes successful, they fire me.
I trust him. I don't trust you.
I know you don't trust me. That's the dynamic of the show. It's a perfectly good dynamic. It's okay. I got this.
Okay, get Tim in it. Get him to sort you out.
Malik _DWD. Malik MALIK _DWD.
I should just refresh it.
He's let's see here. Let's get some.
Let's
do it. Okay, I have to go back to this. So if you were to go into RGD under new right now, he is number 5 with 4 upvotes. It's kind of like translates very well to some type of superhero kind of look going there. Are you getting like a high pitched feedback in your headphones?
It's not high pitched. It's just kind of a weird.
Yeah, like an electronic kind of hum.
Yeah.
That's
fine.
Like I'm comfortable as long as we don't hear it on the podcast. That's fine.
So,
wait.
Is there a screen that shows chat anywhere?
Yeah, I can pull that up for you. Hold on a second. Let me pull that up and then mute it really fast so it doesn't make things go insane.
We could just not say anything for like a second.
We could literally just not talk ever.
Just mute the mic.
I will hurt you.
Are you hearing, I'm sorry to interrupt again and make you speak, but are you getting that high pitch kind of
No, I can't hear
sound?
it.
All right, cool.
All I can hear is the sound of my lungs murdering me.
That's fine. Okay, we're good now. We're not gonna. I'm gonna stop messing with you now. I probably won't, but you can ignore me when I do.
But you will anyway.
I will. It's true. All right, 1 second, people. I gotta open up a thing and play with some things. Okay, we should be fine now. So now you have the chat here, which you can see on your side. And so one thing I thought about doing this episode, if people were so interested in hearing it, would be talking about a big part of trying to be an artist and arting in the art life and the thug life, because they all go hand in hand, is making art with very limited resources. And so what we had in my experience in moving to the Bay Area and joining art studios and then starting a studio and gallery space was managing to do that with very little money. And I'm probably going to go into that probably a little later, though, because I'd like to get started drawing. Oh, yes, that's right. Chat has the delay, so I'm reading old news there.
Oh, I was reading the old news, too, just to catch up.
Anything exciting that I'm missing in the world of chat?
Everyone hates you.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
As expected.
Yeah.
I expect no less. This is really hard. I usually print out the drawing and put it right above the paper, but I forgot to order ink cartridges. So now I have to draw at a really awkward angle. That's why you'll notice my paper is sideways. So this is going to be a bit of a doozy. Did you get a lot of art done today, Tim? Right?
Me?
Yeah, all day making art.
Sure.
Nice. Art's been going really slow like the past month.
Your art?
Like a whole month. It's just been like I cannot make, like it's just not, like the drawings are just going about half the speed they normally do.
Probably has a lot to do with just other things in your head. Getting the whole gallery thing shut down and whatnot.
Yeah, that's going to be exciting. So pretty much like what's happening there is, so we're going to be turning our, like I have the gallery studio space in Oakland, and we are going to be transitioning it into an all, it's going to be just all studios, and we're going to close the gallery portion of it just to focus just on the studio portion and add a studio that will help offset the cost, an inevitable increase of rent that will be around the corner, and also be able to make it so we can focus just on creating art, as was the original plan of the studio. Running the gallery was actually kind of originally supposed to be kind of like a side note to the studio space. It was the idea is that we could have studios, but then since we had this building and it was in like a neighborhood that would have art events and a lot of traffic for people looking at art, it only made sense to have a gallery. But what inevitably happened is that when starting a business and not knowing much about running a business is then you pretty much start taking care of the paperwork and getting things on board, and lo and behold, the gallery ends up being a lot of work to keep it managed, and that was fine. And what ends up being the case though is we run it as a very kind of loose gallery. Pretty much, it's just here's walls, hang art. We didn't have the resources to really single-handedly promote artists as like full-time kind of dealers. So it became kind of just this space for artists to come in, and then they could just pretty much do whatever they wanted, which was awesome. And it's been really fun to do that for like the past 6 years. But over time, inevitably, life grows, your own personal art and career grows. And what ends up happening is you start running out of time, and you don't have as much time anymore to run the gallery space. And that's what was happening there. And so it was getting harder and harder to try to run it to the kind of quality and the have the level of commitment that we wanted. And eventually we, even our own art and being able, and what we could do and the amount of work we could put in was starting to suffer. So it became kind of this idea that was like, okay, we need to just get this back to a studio space. And, kind of we did our part and tried to and showed. I mean, God, we probably showed over 60 art shows there in that period of time, because for the most part, it was a show every single month. That was a lot of work, but that was quite an experience. And that being said, that was all done very little resources, pretty much supplementing the cost of the expenses by renting studios, which is a good way to get an art studio if you can't afford one, is to get a lot of people. Were you messing with me, Tim?
No, nothing.
Nothing. No big deal. How are things going in Chatland?
I don't know. I thought I almost lost everyone.
Well, even if you erase the stream right now, it would be fine because it's running through on Sarah's end. Oh, I should clarify, we have a new modem and a new router now. So when we had, not last week, the week before, when the whole podcast completely died.
Oh, yeah.
That was a bummer.
That happened.
Yeah, faster internet now. Actually, the internet is technically twice as fast as it used to be, so that should be not be a problem on our end. That is a thing of the past.
Well,
I'm already drawing the eyes too large. I'm going to lose all the fun action of the hair.
Sarah's saying that there's an issue with chat on if you're using Firefox.
Really?
That Firefox is not showing the chat.
Firefox isn't showing the chat?
Yeah.
Is she on Firefox?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, that's kind of weird. That is a new problem, but that problem has nothing to do with us. I cannot solve that problem.
Slam says he's on Firefox and it works for him.
Who
knows?
That could be just someone's computer then, being a dingus.
It seems to be a lot of people, or a few people are having an issue with chat.
Oh, just when we think we have all the problems in the world solved.
Yeah. Okay, so to update about the chat issue. Well, we have like quite a few people in chat right now, so I'm not majorly concerned because they all seem to be doing fine. I've had 2 separate reports from people saying that they've tried multiple browsers and they can't get the side chat to work.
That's
and
weird.
It seems 2 of the ones that have been mentioned are Firefox and Microsoft Edge. However, I've just gotten confirmation from the live chat from 2 separate people that one is on Edge, one is on Firefox, and it's working for them. So I don't know if this is just an isolated case that just happens to have hit 2 people at the same time. I'm not sure. I can't download Firefox to test it because it says that my connection isn't secure. I don't know if that's because I'm live streaming or something.
Yeah, it's part of the live stream.
I'm trying to do what I can. So I will keep chat updated and I will also keep the subreddit updated. But if any of you guys have Firefox or anything else, I've tried Chrome and Safari and it's working on both of those for me. So if anyone has anything else, try it out and let me know updates in the chat for me. Thank you.
Rest your voice. And my man's Apple TV died. And hello, Schmoonify. So when you guys were making, you made short films with people. I don't know if people know that about you, but you have. It happened.
Yeah.
We're going to talk a little bit about that, Tim.
Okay.
Now, when you did, you guys were obviously on a very fixed budget for doing that project. How does that work with film? Like, were you guys looking for investors, or was that all just like, here's what we have, shoot just with this?
Well, investors?
I don't know. Did you look for investors? Isn't that what the one dude?
No, I just make shit on my own.
Yeah, I know. And then, but then in the last project you guys did, that was just
he was looking for people to like afterwards for distribution. And then he also used it as a platform that people would give him money to make future projects.
Oh, okay.
But our film didn't receive anything from those quote unquote investors.
Quote unquote.
Well,
I guess you're not technically an investor till you invest.
They did invest in him. I think they gave him like $10,000 to write some story for a pilot episode for some show they wanted to pitch to HBO.
Mm-hmm. That show was Game of Thrones. No, I'm just kidding.
It was.
I hear it worked.
Yeah.
I hear that show found some success.
Just a little bit. No, so yeah. Are you trying to talk about?
What I'm trying to talk about is
budget?
working within budget constraints. Constraints. Unbelievable constraints. Because that's a subject that tends to come up a lot, and a struggle. And it's interesting because you spent time coming from a background in working to produce and work in a particular medium that tends to associate very heavily with investment, needing teams in regards, and you've made a number of you've gotten used to working without investment and using limitations. You always, like, I remember you telling me, you need a steady shot, so you have a bag of rice on your shoulder. It's not the kind of thing, which is literally used as a measurement of the cost of goods, like, you know what I mean? Like the cost of rice. But has that been a hurdle for you? I mean, I'm kind of just curious between trying to work in that field on a limited budget between just the fine art, because you have experience in both.
Well, I think with anything, you have to. If you have an idea, the best way to get your idea through is to create it in whatever means possible, and the greater the idea or the more resources it takes, the more money it's going to take. But it doesn't always have to take more money, because you could also be smart with it, and instead of having to buy all the nice equipment, all the best everything, or have these big budget things, or even when it comes to just drawing, instead of although if you're painting, it is better to buy more expensive paints, because they usually last longer than to buy cheap stuff which falls apart, or cheap materials aren't necessarily the best materials, but at the same time, it's hard to compare the two. I think when it comes to painting, you need good materials, otherwise canvases will fall apart.
Yeah, it can cost you more money in the long run. Does that
cost you more money, and the work will deteriorate over time? Whereas with something like film, if you can be creative with what things cost and how you do things, because the end result is a moving image taken from real life. It's not created with materials that are going to fall apart over time. It's an image, and it becomes either, well, I always shot digitally, so it's on a digital file, so it just goes online. It's not over time, compression is compression rates deteriorate. Although we don't use zip drives or things anymore, but that's just because they come outdated.
Maybe you don't.
But I don't know. I think you just have to be handy with your resources, and I don't know, if something calls for using there was one shot that we did, for example, where we needed basically we needed the camera to pull back to make a wide shot, slowly get wider as it pulls back further. Mm-hmm. What you could do by being really far away with a zoom lens, but then it creates a weird
that Jaws vertigo effect kind of thing.
Well, no, that's if you move forward, but you can definitely tell that the lens is panning backwards as opposed to the camera being pulled backwards. And so essentially I took a bag of rice and I sat it in the back of a pickup truck, and then put the camera on the bag of rice, which the bag of rice absorbs all of the shock, not all of it, but a good majority of the shock from the ground and the cars, tires and everything. And then as we're pulling back, with all the absorption being, with all of the movement being absorbed in the rice, the camera is steady. So it's not like I needed to use a dolly to pull back. So, that's really cheap, and it didn't really cost anything. Other times I used, instead of spending a couple $1,000s on a slider.
What's a slider?
It's a it's a track, like a metal track, that you attach like a tripod head to, and then you're able to slide the camera along, like either like on a length axis, so instead, all I did was I flipped up a skateboard upside down and used a giant plank, and then just set the camera on the plank and then move the plank through the skateboard wheels. And essentially that was free because I just found a piece of wood and used my skateboard. I don't know. I don't really know.
Well, it's funny how, because those things can actually work really well. Like, I remember watching the film. It's like I didn't know how well some of kind of those substitutions worked until you had told me about it later. Like, I wouldn't have thought. It's almost a thing where you know it works well because you're not, on one hand, you can look at something, be to a certain degree, be like, oh, how did they do that? But you're not like getting pulled out of the picture by being able to kind of recognize how things are done. It's just it's just that the narrative keeps moving. And I don't know, I was thinking about it in kind of a, in that kind of comparison when using fine art materials. Like, I remember when I was first learning about, I had mentioned these before, but like using tint bases and mixing with acrylic, which are these things right here, these colorants, you just add this to like white or a deep base, and these things last for freaking ever, except unless you don't mix it enough. And then this one's separated a little bit down there. But I've also owned this for 11 years. So what do you expect? I guess 11 years is forever. But the thing is using that is a good way to save money on paint because you can mix paint in bulk. You can buy it by the gallon full and then make your colors with those. The downside is you know, not all that paint's going to be the kind of same quality you would get with art store paint, and a lot of it is determined between colors. Usually blues and bright blues and reds will fade faster than, you know, like an ochre or something would. So lots of times it would be a matter of, you know, if I wanted to use a nice red, I would use like a one from a store, or like, you know, you could get like a golden red or something, and then that's going to have a better color fastness than those. And what kind of gets hard with fine art materials is sometimes you don't know what's a good material or not until later. You know, it's like you can have the product and it can be done and you can think, oh, okay, I'm ready to go, and this worked, this looks great. And then a year goes by and suddenly paintings are starting to crack, things can start to break, and you won't know until it's too late. And pretty much the worst scenario you can find yourself in is having to try to fix something for someone. I've luckily been able to avoid that so far, but there's certain instances where I can't imagine ever really making that work or having it be an option. And so lots of times, a lot of it is kind of knowing what to research beforehand. There's a book, there's the Meyer Handbook for Artists, which will list a lot of those kind of things, but they only can get updated so often. So you have to kind of think about, particularly when you're getting a material, is the color fastness of colors for paints, or if you're dealing with like what quality grade of gesso. Is it a student grade gesso? Is it a professional grade gesso? Lots of these times, these things can kind of be worth looking into, and knowing when to invest on a higher grade material and when you can pass on it. A good kind of rubric to follow is the lower, like particularly the quality of materials, the pretty much the closer to the base of the material, the higher quality you're going to want it to be. That's kind of the secret thing. I remember a lot of people saying, oh, you can get it like a cheap board here and paint on that. And then I don't know if you can have like a piece of masonite and leave a piece of masonite, and if it's in not the most perfect environment, or if it gets placed on a corner by mistake a little too much, it all starts separating. Masonite's a pretty cheap material. Like, I wouldn't recommend doing much else besides maybe just practicing on masonite than trying to do like, I wouldn't do 100-hour painting on a piece of masonite, like, for me, and
I think that's kind of a fundamental difference between, well, because I mean, you asked me about filmmaking and how to stay on budget and that kind of stuff. And I can understand like how to cut corners with that, because your materials, like, I mean, even if it's on a set, like the whole thing could just, as long as it looks right in the image, it could be made out of like toothpicks and fall apart in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But if you only need 12 minutes to get that shot, then
that's true. You don't have to worry about
it.
How long it lasts. That's a huge advantage there.
Whereas with painting or drawing or any other sorts of like fine arts where you're making something and you want it to last, like you have to think about those things.
Yeah.
And by buying cheap materials, you're gonna have bad results in the end.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of have to spend money on good materials if you want things to really last, or if you want them to be of real quality. That doesn't necessarily mean that you have to only use really good materials. Like you were saying, you could use masonite, things like that for practice.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, there are some things like we have at our day job paintings that are on masonite that were painted in like 1915, and they're still perfectly, you know, stable and they're strong.
I don't know if I'd say perfect.
Well,
or strong.
I don't know. Some, like, I would say some of them are like pretty solid.
They're more. They're more solid than I would think they would be.
It's not going to be like I don't know, like those old
like a
Russian like paintings on wood. What are those? The icons.
Mm-hmm.
Like how they're, I don't know, 1,200 years old or something.
Yeah.
And they've been through wars and storms and all sorts of crazy stuff.
It's, or like even like Northern Renaissance all on. I wonder, you know, they don't talk about what kind of, I haven't really, well, I'm sure it's well documented, and if I just Googled it, I would find it. But I'd be curious to look into the kind of panels and wood they would use in things like Dutch Renaissance paintings.
Yeah.
Kind of that era. Because I found like that, you know, Luan's a nice wood now to work on. You just need something with like a little bit of an open grain, so when you gesso it, you know the gesso really gets in there and it doesn't just lay on the surface. And also that whatever panel you paint on, that it's not something like, obviously you could paint on wood that's different plies, 3-ply, 5-ply, or whatever, but you definitely want to be on something that, like, I associate masonite as separating very easily. Like everyone's probably had some piece of masonite and the corners get spongy, like once it gets kind of pressed or wrinkled, almost like a piece of foam or cardboard, you know?
One big difference between back then and now is like when you're talking about plies.
I don't know how the wood worked back then. Like,
if a sheet of plywood, if you're using a sheet of plywood is a bunch of different sheets glued together.
Yeah.
So I would imagine that back then they probably didn't use plywood.
No, it's all solid.
It didn't exist.
No, yeah, it'd just all be solid pieces of wood from.
So that's the other thing, is like we don't necessarily know how long the glue would last. Is it going to last 500 years, or will it last, you know?
Good question. How long has wood glue been around? Because that's for another example in that regard. Is we already know that acrylic paint will last longer than oil paint. We know that, but we don't know how long acrylic paint will last because it hasn't actually existed long enough to be tested. You can test the color fastness, but for the paint itself, acrylic's a plastic, so obviously it doesn't really biodegrade. It's flexible, and you can clean it with water and a rag once it's dry and settled. It will last just in a very, you know, as long as it's not the side of a boat or something, it will last a really long time, but they haven't been able to determine how long that actually is. But a big thing with a lot of that is the paint flexible, because oil paint doesn't last as long because it's not flexible and it cracks very easily. Hence why there's all those hairline fractures in all the old paintings. Which I'm noticing darker colors tend to crack more than the lighter ones, because the black and white paints dry at different speeds. So you look at old paintings, everything in black or super dark. cracks a lot more than the lighter colors because it dries. I guess it would be drying slower on top of, or no, it dries faster on top of a layer that dries slower. So it sets, hardens, and then the paint under it keeps drying and expanding, and then it breaks the paint on top. I noticed someone mentioned a question in the chat about materials and budget materials to use when making comics. And I would think Sarah had answered that in there. We can read it out in here.
Yeah.
I saw that question. I'm like, well, they are asking, you know, be sure to get that out here.
I mean, it's been a while.
That's fine. What would you suggest for someone who tries to become a comic book artist? Any tips and tricks or supplies or anything? Well, that's a big question.
Just so you guys know, I've been answering that question for like the whole of the podcast so far. So good luck reading through all of my responses to that.
Yeah, that's what Mike was attempting.
I can read it. I'll do it.
If, by the way, if anyone like has questions like this about comics and about how to get into them or how to self-publish for comics and graphic novels and manga in the UK, they can always email me at sarah.childs@gyzra.com, and I will always answer those questions. I have like loads of resources on all of that, so I'm always happy to answer those questions. Anyway,
and also, and they could also ask on, you know, anyone else can also ask any of those kind of related questions on other weeks when you have a voice in your throat's not screaming in pain from the back of your neck.
There's also like a level of there is so much to that topic.
Yeah, that's
like,
huge.
If I want to give like an immediate answer, it is you can make any my man just said, can we ask you how many printers you have in email? Shut up. My immediate reaction to that question is always, you can make a comic with any material that you have, okay? It really depends on what you want to make. The thing with comics is that if you, like, your immediate reaction to what is a comic is like Marvel, DC, right? But there is a, like, massive range of comics and manga and graphic novels, and they all, like, I've seen graphic novels that were entirely pencil. They had no color in them and they had no inks in them, and they did really well. I've seen literally every medium I can think of being used in a graphic novel or a manga or a comic. But obviously, if you go to like mainstream manga and comics, there are specifics. So you're going to have the differences between a lot of Western comics are going to be digital. And you're going to be using things like comic software like Manga Studio, or you're going to be using Photoshop. You're going to be using like specific brushes maybe. Whereas on the... By the way, anyone who seems to have been having trouble with chat, please refresh, because people who previously couldn't see it are now suddenly seeing it. And I don't know why, but great. Whereas on the flip side, with things like manga, you have very commonly used G pens, which I've used and I absolutely love. You have brush pens, and that's a very traditional world in general. Obviously, I'm using very general terms, but it does kind of break down to, if you just want to get into comics so that you, and I would recommend this, I wouldn't hold out and try and get into Marvel and DC. I would say just make something and get it out into the world, okay? You will learn so much from just having your work out there in the real world, being at conventions, seeing how people react to it. Like, the artists that you know who have done so well have made tons of stories before them. I think like the guy who made, really sorry, I can't remember his name at this exact moment. I should do, but I can't. The guy who made Naruto, he had like tons of stories that he wrote that he continuously showed to people like Shonen Jump and stuff like that, continually trying to get that like one little break in. And you can see from his previous characters, Naruto evolving out of it. You can see the elements of it where he realized, okay, this worked really well, but this didn't. How can we evolve that? And I think the problem with someone, when I'm at a convention and someone tells me I want to be a comic artist or something along those lines, they always say to me, I'm waiting till my artwork is good enough. And I understand that, but I really think you should get your artwork out there so that you're not the only one seeing how good it is. And so that you're interacting with people. Like, the amount of amazing contacts I made on day one, like day one of my first convention experience, I was 17 years old and I made a tiny little graphic novel and I brought it to a show. I brought it to the London Comic Con, which was quite small at the time. And sat opposite me was a Marvel and DC artist, like a top Marvel and DC artist, who then walked over to me to see my artwork, gave me incredible encouragement, and now we chat on Facebook. So that wouldn't have happened if I hadn't decided to go and take a bit of artwork to a convention. And I wouldn't have had, like, I've had amazing artists give me critiques on work. I'll say, look, I understand that you don't have very much time, but could you just give it a skim and tell me your gut reaction? Like, that's all I need. All I need is your gut reaction, because your gut reaction is going to be so much more experienced than my full-time studying it, because you've been in this industry for years. And they'll turn around and go, sorry. They'll turn around and they'll say, oh, well, your characters seem really great, and I really like the fact that you're adding in backgrounds, and this is actual advice I was given. I really like the fact that you're adding in backgrounds, because most new artists don't do that in the backgrounds of their panels. However, your perspective is completely wrong in a lot of these panels. You really need to work on that. Like, I wouldn't have gotten that advice, and I would have carried on making artwork, and then somewhere down the line, when I'm standing there with a portfolio in front of Marvel and DC, they'd go, well, your perspective's shit. You've been working on it for 20 years, but you couldn't see it, and you didn't ask people, and you didn't work on that. So there's an element of, to me, this is one of the very few cases where I will say the answer is just do it. And I know that's like a running joke now, but...
No, start failing now.
Exactly, right?
You have to fail. So start failing when you're not good. Like, here's the thing. If you're waiting to be good, you're going to fail regardless. So start failing when you're bad anyways. Get the fails out of the way, because they're going to happen, you know? So you might as well just start failing now and just get it out of the way, like a Band-Aid.
You'll discover so many things about marketing your work, about business things, like having to know to register with HM Revenue and have it, like, loads of, like, straight up business, core business things. You'll learn how to interact with people professionally. I went from a timid little nobody, and you can ask people who know me in real life, right? They will tell you that there was a time before that first convention where if someone walked up to me, I would probably rather run away than say hello, okay? When I was sat at that table on day one, I was practically a turtle, curled up in a ball, trying to hide from everyone, but at the same time trying to show off my artwork a little bit. I did not talk to a soul that walked up to that table. And today I work with you on a podcast where I talk to people all the time, and I go all over the UK. And it wouldn't have happened if I hadn't taken that first step. If I hadn't have done that first convention and just seen, actually, I did better than I thought I would, and actually it wasn't as scary as I thought it would be. And actually my artwork isn't great, but people really like it for what it, like, there were particular reasons why people really liked my work at that time, whether it be, okay, your artwork's lacking but your story's really great, or one thing that I was told was that because I hadn't had formal training, and this was from a professional, they told me that because I hadn't had formal training and I hadn't followed the strict rules that they had been taught to, I was doing more interesting things than they were seeing coming out of the industry, even though it was very amateur. They were saying, look at these particular things, don't lose those. And I wouldn't know that. If I went into schooling, they probably would have erased those things from me, and I wouldn't have known that I should have kept those things. Particular things like deciding that, deciding that I will never force myself to stay inside the lines, things like that. They were saying those were the kinds of things that were a choice that I had made that someone else hadn't told me to make, and therefore it was more interesting to someone who's in the industry. So I say, whatever materials you have, work with them, perhaps do a bit of research and be like, oh, I really want to try out a brush pen, or I really want to try out a G pen, or I'd really want to try out Manga Studio, right? Play around with them, play with professional stuff, and work with your normal, your daily normal stuff you use is, and make a story that you really love. Do something that you find really fun, that you can't get out of your head, that if you were 10 years old, you'd be designing with your best mate, right? Do that, and then take it to a place where it can be seen by anyone. It doesn't matter who it is, but preferably try and get it seen by people in person, okay? Because if it's seen on the internet, I think you get very different reactions to things by people who post stuff who comment on the internet and people who actually talk to you face to face. So I would recommend going to a comic convention and getting a table and just trying it out, see what happens. And then on top of that, if you want more details about like how to publish and stuff like that, do email me. But like in general, just freaking make something, anything with whatever you have. And trust me, you're doing the right steps by doing it. But yeah, I need to escape again.
Preserving the voice. I mean, I want to, because I can kind of take that into the fine art world as well, because those same rules apply. And particularly, a mistake I made a lot is I always, and I still make that mistake. I make it all the time. I always shoot for the resources before the creation, and you don't need to do that. Like, just get started with whatever you have, and that includes your skills. Even right now, I could say in the art world, there is kind of a thing where people are looking for artists that work from, I mean, that's a huge part of it, is also selling on the story and the idea that you're not from a background people are used to. You don't work with the materials people are used to people working with. That's looked at a lot right now. There's a critic named Dave Hickey who had said that he's kind of tired of even seeing artists who kind of went through the process of art school and learned kind of the formula he was seeing a lot in the art world. He wanted to see art from people that have to, you know, his thing was saying that he believed artists need to start going back to work full time, just in normal jobs, because he felt like the art world was getting so far removed kind of from the rest of the world that they weren't really having anything to really say anymore culturally. So, I mean, whether you believe that or not, it's up to you. But the thing is the point is there's an audience for everything. And you just have to start letting yourself get involved a little bit. Boy, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just working super loose on this one. I'm trying to get back in a groove. And I think I'm doing a horrible approach by rushing because I've been having a bit of trouble. I have one drawing that's going okay, just on my own time. But I've been really struggling while drawing on the podcast lately, because I had a couple podcasts where I wasn't drawing to do other stuff. And now, I don't know, man. Now it's feeling weird.
Yeah, I just haven't really drawn in a while.
So I'm trying to loosen up, but at the same time, my loose feels sloppy, which is bad. There's a difference between loose and sloppy. You can work loose, but you still have to know what you're doing. Yeah. And you can try to like bring that chaos into a piece, but it's you know, it's kind of hit or miss. I don't know, but I can just roll with it and see what it does. I'm just going to keep this one super loose. I have no idea what this is going to look like. I didn't even spend much time getting those proportions right, which is usually a huge mistake. It's in my experience, to just kind of dive in and not really think about proportions, even if you are kind of working in a more abstracted sense. It looks weird and not in a cool way, but in like a you screwed up kind of way. But then again, there's avenues for everything in art, so whatever you want it to be. Yeah, things are blowing up here. saying at some point in this podcast I could talk about. I had some photos and slides prepared of starting the studios and galleries in Oakland that I started with my friends. I could talk about that because I have had people kind of wondering how to get art spaces going, where to get resources to make art, particularly because it can get expensive, or at least seemingly expensive and tricky. And I'll get to that, but I kind of wanted to do that later as I work on this right here. We have some pieces of the Mum Man to share. I have been notified, which I'll get to in a minute. I'm in a kind of a weird spot right here to break from, so I have to kind of keep moving with it. That's not what I wanted that to do. Playing around with some lines, doing stuff, getting loosey-goosey with some art. You pulling them up in there?
I don't really know how to pull them up. I just...
Oh, okay, if you open them so they open into separate windows, we can share them.
There's a lot.
How many are there?
1, 2, 3, 4.
Jesus. All right, let's just...
looks fast.
He does. All right, hold on. Let me just...
Oh, I won't.
Let me see here what we got.
So,
all right.
Open tab.
Yeah, and then just separate it from the other windows. Like pull it aside so it's a window.
There's more though. Should I load them all?
Yeah, get them all ready.
Let's see.
And
Just a note, guys. The Mum Man put a photo of a deer in the links. Please don't share that on the podcast just because it might void our YouTube terms of service.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that.
Cool.
good to know. Good to know.
I didn't even look at it. I'm kind of terrified.
We have to work under strict guidelines in the podcast when you're streaming, because if anything can kind of lead to a complaint or any problem there, they can pull your account, which we cannot afford to have done for the podcast.
So there are 4 of them.
Okay.
This is the first one.
All right. So I need to go to. I can share it here.
All right.
This is the first of my man piece. Line drawing on an iPad. Always a big fan of these drawings that the Mud Man does. He did the signature backwards on this one. He flipped it. The Mud Man works super fast. He always has a handful of drawings done just as we're getting a groove. That's how he rolls. I really like that drawing.
The next one, you just added some color to it.
Let's see here. Adding some color to the hair. Merry Christmas. Oh, you know what? Was it flipped around backwards just because of the way the image uploaded? That could be the case.
Maybe. But it's the way that the image is.
Oh, that's true. Wild card. You just never know with the Mud Man.
Yeah.
In the festive spirit.
And then there was one that he did. Oh, that's the same one.
And then this is, what's the story behind this one here?
Looks like it's made out of salt.
It says salt on the table, drawn with the, what was it, a pocket knife or a Leatherman? That's not a Leatherman. Leatherman has the 2 sides.
That's a can opener.
That's the can opener end of a pocket knife. Now he has to throw a bunch of salt over his shoulder so he doesn't get bad luck. Because he spilled like 40 years worth of bad luck right there.
Technically, it's not spilled.
That's true. It's technically
poured.
If it's poured, then it's not bad luck. I guess it's technically not spilled. It doesn't have to be on food, or else people that put salt on the roads during the winter are in a lot of trouble. Well done, the Mun Man. Switching up the materials. And what's this last piece here?
That's a piece that he did. There was a story to it. He didn't have internet, and he didn't have a reference, I believe. So he just
was drawing
from his head. It was in the artist lounge section.
Interesting. Straight from his mind.
I don't know where it was.
Yeah, we have a lot of windows open here right now, so it's kind of hard to sift through them. So sorry if it gets a little jumbled in here. Beautifully done. Impressive, especially just working straight from his head. That is not easy to do. I was talking to someone recently, and we were talking about in the illustration worlds and the fine art, kind of having a fine art background. And it's funny because in the illustration world, you tend to practice building a skill set more for being able to make things up from scratch in your mind, whereas in the fine art world, it was very much either, if it wasn't conceptual, it was very reference. I mean, you were at least like kind of the background I came from in that world. It was very much like use a reference even while you're practicing. It was always like go to the reference. And I remember I had professors that would talk about artists that would always use a reference no matter what. And it's a fine method to practice because using references, it's always you're going to find the details that your brain just can't remember. But that being said, there's a lot of things you're not practicing when your entire focus is on always having a reference. That's why I tend to never really sketch without one. Probably would be good practice too at some point. I don't know how this drawing's going to go. I can't tell if I'm going to like it or absolutely hate it. I really hope I don't hate it.
The Mun Man posted a picture of himself in a Santa suit.
Oh, Jesus, the Mun Man. He's going all out. Yeah, you can share it.
How do you...
You have to go on this screen here, and then now you have to click on this little... It helps if you make the window the size of the photo, first of all.
I can't see over there.
Yeah, you can have it on your screen. It doesn't need to be on this screen. So you can just make it the size of that photo there. And then on this window where the podcast is, you go to that little green arrow screen thing. Yeah. And then you find the window there, which is that one. And then you hit share down here. And then that'll share it. And then to unshare it, you just click the share button again. That's the Mun Man wishing everyone a happy Christmas.
This one?
From deep in Pennsylvania, I believe. No, that's yeah, that. You just click that again. It'll oh, in the festive spirit. Big holiday plans. I don't know. Be curious if people have holidays coming up. They got the big holiday plans.
Jeez.
What's up?
There's also like a million new really awesome drawings from Shmoonify.
Oh my God.
Commissions that he did.
We can look at those in a minute. I need to draw. I don't like those lines. I'll have to live with that. That's just a part of my life now. That's what happens when you draw lines you don't like. They just become a part of your life. Working in a brush pen. I'm pretty much attempting to do one of the faster ones I've ever done, I decided. What if I'm going to end up posting it? I might not.
Kaya Farrell just asked who's hyped for the Batman versus Superman, the new movie that's coming out, and who do you think will win?
Well, according to the comic, doesn't Batman win?
Yes.
Do they change that for movies? I don't know, because to be honest, a lot of comic movies, I don't know the comics very well, so I don't. Do they stray from the comics like pretty severely when they do the movies? Like in this case, would it be unheard of for Superman to win on this one?
So there's a really good. I don't know if any of you guys listen or know, like, so there's a director, Kevin Smith. He did Clerks and
pretty sure people
Jane
probably
Silent Bob and all that.
Kevin Smith.
Okay, so Kevin Smith does a bunch of podcasts and has his own like huge empire of podcasting and talking, and he likes to talk and he talks a lot. And all of his podcasts are kind of amazing and really entertaining. And he talks a lot about his experience, and he's also a comic book artist and has made comic books in the past. Or a writer, not an artist, sorry. Oh, well, that's the same thing. They're both artists. So he got commissioned, or not commissioned, he got approached to do, I want to say it was Superman. But yeah, it was Superman, but it was back in the mid-90s. And Tim Burton was on his, they got Tim Burton on as director, and Nicolas Cage was supposed to be Superman. I don't know if you've heard of this.
I think we met.
It was on Reddit a little while ago about like pictures of Nicolas Cage in the Superman suit.
That's insane.
Leaked on. So essentially, he had a meeting with his producer, and he had written the script and the story for this new Superman. Because they asked Kevin Smith if he'd write it, and he wrote it. And then he went to meet with this producer, and the producer was like, so, you know, would it be possible if we can like have Superman without that like spandex leotard? And can we not, like, I'm sick of like all these comic book stuff being all fake and whatever. So can we just not have him fly? And he was like, well, it's Superman. Like,
it's kind of what he does best.
One of his, main things is that he flies. And the guy's like, yeah, but, can we just like change that? And then also, I really want him to fight this giant spider. So all of these things make no sense in the comic book. If you know anything about Superman, you know that he doesn't have a giant spider as a nemesis, and he flies, and he wears a funny blue and red leotard suit. That's just who he is as a person.
Fights a giant spider. Oh, God.
So essentially, the movie got canned, and it never really happened. But that same producer, well, there was more to the story as well, that it's all really funny, and I recommend looking for Kevin Smith telling the story, because he does a lot better job than I do. But that movie ended up being scrapped, but all the ideas of that producer ended up in another film about a year and a half later. Not quite a comic book Superman movie or anything, but definitely a movie that I'd say probably did fairly well on its like release of the box office. It was like kind of a big blockbuster movie.
Yeah, it was like a summer
movie. Also
movie.
Did like really poorly because it was not very good.
Yeah.
In
that film.
Yeah.
Come on, what was the film?
Oh, the film was The Wild Wild West.
There you go. It had a song. It had the Wild Wild West. Isn't that how the song went?
Yeah.
I remember when that came out, because it came out at the same time as the South Park movie, and I remember seeing an interview with Trey Parker and Matt Stone and Salma Hayek, and they were all on together And Salma Hayek was promoting Wild Wild West, and they're obviously the South Park movie. And they're like, so what do you think is going to sell more? And she was like, oh, Wild Wild West. And then Trey Parker and Matt Stone were like, well, yeah, of course, because kids are going to buy tickets for your movie and then sneak into ours and see ours instead. Fun fact, All-Star, wait a minute. Superman for the comics died from the thing that powers him?
The sun.
The sun. Wait.
He got cancer and died from his power source. Did you read the rest of it?
No, I just gave up. Wait, that's not, I thought Superman got like pummeled to death in a comic and it was a big deal.
Yeah, that was when he...
Was he fighting the sun?
Well, I'm trying to remember. This was like 1992, 1993 when Superman died.
Yeah, around there. Maybe a little later. It was around that time.
Oh, I don't even remember.
It was a big deal. Big deal.
Yeah.
And then they brought him back. Because, of course, it's Superman. They're not going to just kill a franchise like that. That would have been amazing if they left him dead. They're just like, nah, we're done with these. Superman.
Father Miser is saying that Superman originally didn't fly. He just jumped really high. And then they added flying shortly after.
Isn't it like it's like Jessica Jones, right?
Oh, I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, you gotta watch that show.
Yeah. It's in the queue of
it's a good guilty pleasure.
Well, no, I've actually kind of made plans to watch it after the seasons of other shows that I watch.
Mm-hmm. Because you watch comic shows.
Yeah.
More so than I do.
So during the off season time,
yeah,
I'm gonna start watching that.
Nice. That's a fun one.
Yeah.
I don't really want to talk about the studio stuff. I mentioned potentially going into that and setting up the studio and the financing it. I have like a whole presentation I did at the I did it with my fellow studio mates at the California College of Art. We did a presentation on how we started our space and set up our studios and built our gallery and all that. And I can go into it at some point. I just don't know if I feel like doing it right now. I plan on it eventually because I do have lessons in there and in things to say and because a lot of that was starting what seemed it was a pretty elaborate space with very little resources, and that kind of a lot of that came down to the ideas when you talk to the owner and landlords. You got to pitch the space as a tool for them to help promote their rental property. That's a big way to get a gallery going, or even a studio space, more so a gallery in an area that is normally pretty expensive.
So ideally you want to fail so that you don't promote their rental property so they don't kick you out, right?
Yeah, if you don't make any money. It was a weird system. It's a weird system, but it works. I mean, the biggest difference I've had between having a studio that worked and is going well as opposed to one that isn't is having the landlord on your side. And that seems like an obvious thing, but it's very easy to suddenly lose favor with a landlord, and you can't let that happen. Like that, everything starts falling apart when that's the case. Because you can't really expect people to kind of understand where you're coming from when you're doing the art thing. And so as an artist, running a space for artists is really weird and has a very esoteric set of kind of demands and needs. So you really can't go in expecting someone to be able to fulfill all those needs or understand them. We've already had a lot of people get really baffled, particularly when doing bookkeeping, because we run our gallery not as a gallery to really make profit, but just to show art, which seems pretty counterintuitive, but none of us really had any intention of being like gallery directors. We just wanted to be able to have our friends show art that, you know, and especially when you're in the formative stages of an art career, we wanted to be able to offer those opportunities to people. And what that tends to lead to is conversations with people that do bookkeeping and taxes, wondering why you're running a business that has no profit and doesn't have any model to start showing profit. Which in our case was because we were, the idea is that you'd be making profit from selling your own art, not from running the gallery portion.
Is it odd when you have those conversations with that person and that person just so happens to be like, your tax man happens to be your dad? What are you doing with your life, Michael? You're like,
well, no, there was two, because that's the thing.
Not to make money.
I ended up being I'm the administrator bookkeeping portion of this, because as having a dad that's an accountant, it's like, okay, I do the bookkeeping, I give it to him. If there's any questions, it's not going to cost us like $150 an hour.
I guess that's true.
Well, because here's the thing. What I learned is what made our space complicated. Like, if you were going to do a gallery, if you are the sole part of the business, that's pretty straightforward. Running your own kind of business, however you want to do it, whether it be, you know, limited liability or or if you're just looking to pretty much take deductions as a Schedule C and have the business under your Social Security number, you can do that. What made our business complicated is we had 4 of us that were signing on to a lease, which then turned us into a partnership. Now, a general partnership tax return is far more complicated than just kind of running your own personal business. And so kind of what I was going to talk about is one thing of advice would be try to keep the business under one person as the entity, because when you have a partnership, you're constantly dealing with 4 tax returns now. And if you're an artist trying to start out, I mean, if you're looking just to be an artist, running a gallery is kind of a weird step. We had that as a means to show friends art, but then also to meet. It's a great way to meet other galleries, because when you're in a neighborhood and you're also a gallery, you're suddenly in on all the meetings and everyone knows you. So it's a good resource for that. But a lot of headache and stress can be avoided by kind of being a little removed from the structure of a partnership. And the only reason I was able to kind of get that to even be an option was because, you know, having a family that can do the accounting, you know, if you don't have that resource, that's going to be a lot of expense and time and headache. And would be better to not do that in that way. That being said, this is a very peculiar set of circumstances. So if you're starting your own studio space and doing that, it's most likely not going to be a partnership anyways. And lots of times you don't even need to do that at all. If you don't have that format, you can start a studio space by simply just renting a building or a place, and then that's it. You just pay rent. And boy, is it really hard to explain to family why you are running a business that has no intention to make money.
Yeah. Sarah also commented that if you're a soul trader, not trading people's souls, but like you are the only one in the
SOL, not SOUL, soul trader.
So if it's just you, the paperwork is super easy.
Yeah.
As opposed to being in a partnership where you just want to.
Oh my God, it is so not easy. Oh my God, so many things, not easy. That's why, that's what made it hard. It was single-handedly the thing that made running our studio space hard, was having to run it as a partnership. It is a lot more expense, a lot more time, and it's a certain level of work that if you're just an artist and you're trying to do that thing, you are not going to learn that you're not going to do it on your own. There was no way I would be able just to do a partnership, and just figure it all out myself and just do that. I'm not going to be able to file all that paperwork and just figure that out on my own. But just being like the sole business is very much a manageable and an option that you can have. And I very much would recommend that. That's actually a very kind of being able to do taxes to write your art off as expenses saves you a lot of money and helps with the return, because technically you are a business. You are a business. And so like any business, it is encouraged that because when you are becoming an artist, when you start treating yourself as a business, that's a very good thing. And you're not sneaking through the system by writing off your business expenses. You are actually trying to use a system that is in place to help you facilitate your business, because it's good for you and it's good for the economy and it's good for everybody. So it is important to do those things. You can take classes on how to go, the steps to go through that. But a lot of it is a pretty, it's annoying, the bookkeeping, but it is not debilitating amount of work. And just because if you have a lot of people in the studio does not necessarily mean you need to have a partnership, because that is a lot of work, but quite an experience. Doing a studio space with a bunch of artists is a lot of fun. It's a lot like the Artist Lounge podcast, but inside of a building, pretty much. Imagine all of us in one building. That's pretty much what it can be. Now, granted, there's going to be, when you're starting a space of studios, you're probably going to get a lot of people that don't go eye to eye, because artists have pretty strong personalities. But it's actually not too tricky. It really is a matter of just finding a building and finding a phone number on the building, or finding it online and calling a landlord and just asking. That is really, so much of it is just asking. Just talking to an artist recently. I would normally say who, but when I don't really have permission, I don't do that. But they were looking for a studio space, and they ended up finding it by going to a coffee shop. And I guess they knew the person in the coffee shop, and that person, they had an extra room in the building that they never really used. So he just let them use that to do like figure drawings and have figure drawing sessions in there. It really can be that easy if you just look around and ask.
Which, they're doing figure drawing sessions?
Yeah.
Where's it at?
That was in, he lives in like North Dakota, So
I'll see if I can get there.
Yeah, see if you get there. It's not local.
Tuesday nights?
Yeah, but that was the thing. That was the hard thing. The idea was I live pretty far out, pretty remotely, and it's like, how the hell am I going to find? Normally, if you live in a smaller town in North Dakota, you're gonna be like, well, where the hell are they going to have figure drawing sessions? And you can figure it out and start one. There's always some people around. And how did Lucky got his start? It was just all friends hanging out, right? And then you just look online and find did they just go through a modeling agency to get the models for their figure studies?
Yeah, there's this, I think it's just the Bay Area Models Guild.
Mm-hmm.
It might be the San Francisco Models Guild, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I think it's the Bay Area one because it encompasses all of the Bay Area.
Mm.
So. But Lucky's been in that studio for like 20-something years.
Yeah. You just get a group of friends together, man. Do things as a group. That makes things more affordable. I will go into more detail on all these ideas eventually, and I'll do a specific presentation on it. I want to do it very specifically and really lay out the numbers, not just be like kind of platitudes like, follow your dreams, it will happen. You gosh, got it. Like that vague, you just got to hustle. And then, yeah, that's it. You just hustle, and then everything works out perfectly. But doing it in groups was a huge thing, because one, not only does it make the cost more affordable, Costco style, you are buying art space in bulk with multiple people, but it puts you in, you establish a community when you do that. And eventually, through filtering through people who aren't as into it, people that are, you actually start building a little bit of you start kind of building an art scene, even if it's not intentional, just because you're all there in one space. And if there's some good camaraderie, and you're all kind of influencing each other's ideas and bouncing ideas off each other, it helps quite a bit. Oh, I hope that guy hangs out in our alley and yells really loud.
Yeah. We have a...
Oh, K1 forms. Yes, Folly Miser, the freaking dreaded K1 forms, man. Those are There he goes. I don't know if that's popping up on the podcast. That's a local character around this neighborhood. Oh, here he comes.
Should we probably mute our mic?
He's already passed and walking away now.
All right. So We have a let's call him our neighbor. Sometimes he sleeps in our alley.
Yeah.
And he suffers from Tourette's.
Mm-hmm.
And so he
has
yells
episodes
a lot and curses a lot.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's right outside our window.
Yeah.
He's harmless.
He's harmless. He just sometimes he has episodes.
Yeah. A lot of people in the neighborhood are terrified of him, but he's completely harmless.
Yeah. He's been around
around
here a while.
I think he's a writer because
Are you serious?
I always see him out like by the garage, and he has like a little notepad and all these books, and then he just like sits and writes.
Oh my god, I'd be so curious to read his writing.
The other day when I was walking home, he was reading from his notebook in the doors of the hardware store when they're closed.
Huh.
So he was just like sheltered in that little area, just reading from his notepad.
You ever thought about asking him about it?
I'm afraid he's just gonna yell obscenities at me.
Yeah, I don't know. He's pretty deep in it. Like he's pretty deep. It's not I don't know if he's the kind of at a level where if you talk to him, it would be much communication happening. This piece is going all right, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of burning into it real fast. I'm feeling pretty okay. That's good. This one's probably not going to get torn up. That's a relief.
You should just tear it up anyways.
No, it must live. Hold on, saw that. Posting losses with no clear profit plan does make the IRS a bit unhappy. Fun fact, though, if you, at least this has been a rule for a while, if your business is, you are an artist, it was this way for quite a few years, you actually don't need to have a profit. So you can just keep losing, because otherwise, if you have a business and you don't make a profit in normal circumstances, don't quote me on this because I haven't researched it in a while, to be honest, but your business would be considered a hobby, and then you can no longer write off your expenses. But if you're an artist, I know there were some things in place for a while, and the idea was that you don't make business, like your business does not make profit as quickly as other businesses, and sometimes it was also to just help kind of preserve culture. They were lenient on that, so you could actually not make profit for I don't know if there was a limit, because I most certainly have not had a profitable art. Let's just say, as my life goes on, my income in art has not exceeded my expenses by any means.
I mean, you don't make millions of dollars a year,
but I spend millions. Yeah, no.
I've assumed that it's because you spend so much money that you would make at least
millions. Yeah, no, I don't. But I spend millions. That's why my hip hop name, my rap name's Chameleonaire. That's me.
Isn't that someone else's name?
Yes, it's Chameleonaire's name. Did you ever hear his story about meeting Michael Jordan? Did I show that to you?
No.
He tells a story. He's awesome. He's really well spoken. He tells this great story about meeting Michael Jordan and how much of a dick Michael Jordan was to him. Because he was.
I've actually kind of heard stories about people meeting Michael Jordan and him not being very nice.
Yeah, it's a pretty common story.
Not very much of a good thing, considering like I remember being a kid.
Oh yeah, man, looking up to him.
Yeah,
I didn't even really
looked up to him.
I never. Yeah, but he was everyone looked up to him, and then you hear that stuff, it's kind of heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And apparently Chameleonaire felt the same way.
Well, I mean, I don't know. You gotta also understand, like, and if you're put in a position like that where you're the best at something, like you're the best at what you do at something, no matter what it is, people are gonna look up to you.
Yeah.
But you didn't necessarily ask for them to look up to you. You didn't like go out of your way to be, I don't know, a public speaker or a
but they're paying
nice
you.
person.
They're paying you to keep your shit together.
Well, yeah.
I don't know. There's a certain degree I think you can like a certain level of professionalism. You can like shut your freaking mouth and not like be a dick to people. You know, like.
Yeah, but I mean, you can't pay someone to like be a personality if they're not like an actor. You know, people are who they are, and if they're a shitty person, they're gonna be a shitty person.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that, but to a certain degree, though, in his case, it was a little bit. It seemed that it was more so than just what you would kind of casually expect someone to be in that case. It was a little more intensely rough around the edges there. Anyone have the chat want to share their Michael Jordan stories? Don't share your Michael Jordan stories. Nobody has Michael Jordan stories. It's all hearsay. Never mind, people. It's no big deal. What do we got here? Folly Miser, were you a tax guy back in the day? Because if he is, what he's actually trying to say is he would be more than happy to take care of everyone's taxes for them. I think the worst thing about being an accountant is everybody wanting to have you do their tax return for free. It's like when you buy a truck and then all your friends want you to help them move because you're the guy that owns the truck. That's like what happens when you're the accountant is now you're the guy that has to help everyone with their taxes. That would get old really fast. I think if I was an accountant, I would just lie to people what my job was. I still am a tax guy, just not doing small biz personal taxes anymore. Oh, and then his response to my suggestion, he does everyone taxes for them. No, you must get that. I bet you anything though. There was like so many like family members and cousins or whatever that want him to do like the tax returns for them.
So if he doesn't do small business or personal taxes anymore, that means like big corporate taxes. I
guess, or just maybe he's accounting for just like a larger company or companies. Or he's just out there.
So, what is this I hear about Delaware?
Delaware and Oregon, your favorite states, right? Oh, the art world's fun, dodgy relationship with taxes. We should have Folly Miser on the show and just talk about what will happen when the 0% interest rates switch and how that will affect the art world. Right now is the time to buy art, people. That's where you're going to put your money. That way you won't have people like Folly Miser after you. He says, yes, I do evil taxes now. Indirect taxes. Sarah's suggesting it's a good way to get girls, be their accountant. I have seen this in real life. I actually believe that. Oh my God. If you want, could head back to my place and work on filling out some of your deductions, I believe in this partnership. U of K won my heart. But I guess the phrase is nomad, New Hampshire, Oregon, Montana, Alaska, Delaware. Nice.
It even sounds like a cool, secret military thing.
Yeah. Isn't there a whole thing called Nomad, or is that from a movie and I think it's real life? That happens sometimes.
I think it's real.
Oh, there's a rapper named Nomad I like. Oh no, he's kind of like the backup vocalist, Nomad. He's from Canada.
Netflix and taxes.
Netflix and taxes. We got to get Folly Miser on the show. He jumped in when I did the open session a while back. We got to have you officially on as a guest. That'd be fun. That still needs to happen. We were going to do that before, but then you went on vacation. And without even asking for permission from me and Sarah first before you went on vacation, how dare you? You know the rules. You're supposed to. All vacations must first pass through us and seek our approval. He appreciated my K1 the heart joke. That's all I get after all the stress of dealing with a lot of taxes and that stuff for a long time. I get to leave. I get to leave with the accountant humor. Accountants are always known for their sense of humor. When I talk to my dad, the accountant, on the phone,
and proceeded to get drunk and went home alone.
I'll say this, talking to my dad on the phone for the 9.5 hours while he's telling me all about the accounting stuff that I don't understand, laugh riot. And then when I tell him for 9.5 hours about all the art stuff that he doesn't understand, another laugh riot. Oh, we are so good at having no idea what each other's lives are. But in a mutually fun way. Accountant in the family. Oh, man. Hey, can you help me do my tax return? Amusingly enough, I've met a lot of very attractive accountants all over. Well, there you go. That's the field to be in, people. Accounting is like the I was going to make a comparison, but it made no sense. I'd also like to mention that I also tried to take French and was terrible at it, as people are talking about in the chat. I still am. You never stop being terrible at a language. You can actually get more terrible with less practice, which is exactly what happened. As long as you just follow your dreams and keep practicing it, not practicing, you can get as terrible as you want at something. So the worst thing is I kind of want these drips down here. I'll get them in the camera here. I don't know if they're visible. I like how they're dark just the way they are, but I know if I soak them up, it won't be like that. But if I rotate the paper, it might drip the wrong way. So I might have to just soak it up and then try to recreate it. I might have to try to bullshit these later, which is never fun. Is that how you meet all the single people? Is you go to the you go to like the accounting offices?
Maybe I should have been an accountant. Oh yeah, Sarah says don't forget Shmoon.
No, that's right. Here, I can do this while you're drawing. Shmoon.
I can't draw if you're.
Oh yeah, I'm blocking your thing. Sorry. Doy, Mike. All right, I got this. Whoa, there's so much.
Yeah, told you.
Oh, okay. So we have a lot of commissions, several RGDs. Oh, man, these are freaking awesome. God damn you, Shmoony. Okay. There's like a jillion of them. Let's start going through them. Wait. I lost the podcast. Oh, here it is. There's too many windows. All right, I got this. Everything is going to be fine. First Shmoonify piece. Boom. That's awesome. love how he draws the faces. They have kind of that Art Nouveau kind of style to them. And I like the shadow cast on the moon there. It's a nice touch, kind of make it that illusion of it just being kind of like a set piece. That's sweet.
That looks like fun.
I think I just whispered that into the microphone by accident. That's sweet. How many desktop printers do you have? Schmoonify, how many printers do you have? Refer to last week's show to get that reference. All right, more Shmoony coming up. Oh. Oh, another one, part of the series. This is awesome. Let me find the thingamajig. I'll never find where the window of this is. There's okay, you know what? It's got to be around here somewhere.
What are you looking for?
The window, this one right here.
This one?
Yeah, I'm trying to find the actual original window of it. Okay, you know what? I know how I can do this. Here we go. Right there. Got it. I want to be able to see it larger. Yeah, again, I love the shadow cast on that. And then like the subtle kind of sketch in the background there behind the moon. You can see like the lighter lines. It's actually a really nice idea to kind of like, I like that idea of if you could take the sketch at the beginning of the drawing, save the sketch, and then superimpose it on the background to like add that texture.
Kind of like those photos back in like the early 80s when you
have like the picture of the cat.
Picture of
your cat in the background behind your head.
Yeah.
That would be I think that should just be on every piece of art. I should have that on every portrait. It's just like the big cat in the background behind it. I should really, a lot of times people tell me when I tear up a drawing, I should reuse the pieces. I don't, but then when I see things like this, it makes me start thinking that, you know, maybe the whole entire rest of the world was right. And then me being the one person that disagreed, maybe I was the wrong one.
No, it's usually when everyone tells you one thing and you're the one who is disagreeing with everyone.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, you're right.
You're exactly right. If literally everyone else says, hey, this is the thing, and you're just like, well, clearly the whole world must be wrong.
Exactly.
Which is why you tend to be shocked, and it's important to take offense because it's really surprising to see that the whole world could be wrong about something.
Great conversation, guys.
Thank you. How are you?
I'm alright. I'm drawing. I'm doing
nice.
Things. I'm chatting to people in chat and like making fun of you consistently.
Well, that's what you should be doing. By making fun of, you mean talking about how awesome I am and like with a supporting voice in the chat, right? I don't need to read back in the chat to see it. I'm sure everybody's just talking about how on point I am.
You said about the whole world thinking differently of things.
Oh yeah, they must clearly. It's just sometimes in life, it's just really kind of like hard to realize that the whole world could be wrong about something. And it's just like, I guess I'm the only person that's right about this, and it's just very isolating, you know.
I said that's what makes you an artist.
Yeah.
that's the definition of artist.
Be an artist. Yeah, that's because your whole life, you know, that's exactly.
You think differently.
Because the whole world is like, hey, listen, I think this is a bad idea, and you're just like, no, it's cool.
Nah, it's cool.
I'm pretty good at doodling. I think I got this under control, guys. Thank you very much.
It's true.
Yeah. And then you're just like, I know what I'm doing as you watch the entire world pass you by on Instagram and Facebook.
Micaiah says, "Who was your favorite Doctor?" It's aimed at me, but I'm going to ask you because I know you know nothing about Doctor Who.
Who's my favorite Doctor?
Yeah.
Dr. Hibbert.
That's hard to beat. That's hard to beat. I didn't do the laugh well at all. Who is my favorite Doctor? I know I'm supposed to be talking about Doctor Who, but that's not really a part of my life, so I need to think of a different one as well.
Dr. Emmett Brown.
Oh my God, God, you're saying all the good doctors. Stop taking all the good doctors.
I was giving that one to you.
Dr. Emmett Brown's pretty amazing. I don't know if I can beat that doctor.
Who's your favorite character from Scrubs?
I told you my Zach Braff story. He made me go get a piece of art, and then he left before I got it there.
Wait, what? Really? What? No,
he came
you
into
haven't
the
told me
gallery.
this.
No, he came into the gallery that me and Tim worked at.
Zach Braff, dude?
Yeah, he did. And then he sat down, and they were showing him art, and everyone's freaking out because, oh, look, celebrity. And then they're like, hey, you want to go see this art? And then he's just like, yeah, sure, I don't know. And so they tell you, Mike, you need to go grab this heavy-ass painting. So I had to walk so far. So we had multiple locations in San Francisco. I had to walk so far, all the way. This was the kind of way I had to go to Grant, you know. So I had to walk blocks and go get this painting. Here's the thing. It's not his fault.
Yeah, I was going to say, knowing our place of work, like, he probably was just like, oh, this is a pretty cool place.
Yeah,
It was like right there.
What literally the story probably is he probably came in and was looking at stuff, and then they probably jumped on him.
Yeah,
and attacked.
that's what I'm thinking.
He probably said, oh, this is nice. And they're like, oh my God, he wants to see every
that's what they do. He wants to see pull out every painting. They've done that before. Literally, they say pull out all like 150 paintings of this artist. But and in this case, it was, I assume he was probably like, oh, that's nice. And then they're like, Mike, you need to go grab this. And then at some point, he probably actually said, you know what? It's not a big deal. I'm sure it's far away. I'm sure Mike's probably tired because it's the end of the week and he's probably been lifting a lot of things. And they probably said, shut up, Zach. He needs to do this. And then so I go and grab the painting. And then Zach's probably like, I got to get the hell out of here. And in the meantime, he had left. And then when I finally got back, sweating, carrying this heavy-ass expensive painting through a lot of people, he was gone. And I didn't get to see the Braffinator. That's what they call him, right? The Braffinator?
Yeah.
And that's my Zach Braff story.
You need to go to like San Diego Comic-Con or something and find him and be like, dude, you ruined my life.
And he'd be like, listen, I tried to tell them not to. And I'd be like, I know. And he'd be like, by the way.
Did I ever tell you the story of that one time I had lunch with Zach Braff? So he came into our work.
How is everyone met Zach Braff?
You haven't met Zach Braff yet?
No.
Oh, he's super chill. He just hangs out. I'm surprised he hasn't found you yet.
I was actually just going to make a joke about how I told him I couldn't wait for lunch. And he was like, but this guy Mike is going to get this painting. I'm like, we don't have time for this. And we just went.
Damn you, Tim! Yeah, Tim really twisted his arm to get the hell out of there. I believe the line was, fuck Mike.
Yeah, no, that sounds like a life goal. Just like, yeah, whatever, go away.
Go away. There was here's an interesting thing, though. I noticed that Schmoonify did a Bob's Burgers drawing.
Yeah, that drawing is awesome.
Yeah, I want to share that one right now. Tim and I were in a show that was curated by the guy who designed the Bob's Burgers characters.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's really nice. He was the curator at a gallery. Our friend Micah currently curates. He worked at a gallery in San Francisco called. I know I struggle. So he used to work at a gallery in San Francisco called 111 Minna and curated some shows, and then he curated that. He curated a couple shows. Tim's work. He really liked Tim's work, and then. Went to LA and pursued the art dreams, and then boom, designed the Bob's Burgers characters.
Wait, can we go back a second?
His name's Jay Howell, huh?
Can we go back a second?
Yes.
So Tim has had work in a gallery that's been created.
Yeah.
Yet he won't post it on Reddit.
No.
So
he only posts work that Jay Howell approves of. No, I'm just kidding. He'll only post it if Jay Howell tells him to.
So I was tricked into doing a show.
That's right. Tim wasn't even going to do it.
Oh, okay.
I was asked, and I turned them down. I said no, I didn't want to do it. And then I left to go on vacation for 2 weeks. And I came back and I was just like, oh, how's everything going with getting your guys' work done for this show? And they're like, oh, pretty good. How about your stuff? I was like, what do you mean? I'm not in the show. And they're like, put your names on the flyer.
Yeah, we had to tell Tim he was in the show because they just put him on the flyer. They're like, nah, Tim's going to do it. And they just made him put it in the show.
They just made... I don't know. I didn't want to upset anyone or disappoint anyone, even though I said I would.
Oh, Tim, you're adorable.
And, yeah, so I didn't try to have an art show.
And then his stuff ended up selling well that they invited him back to do another one because they liked his work and it got such a good response.
Yeah, so I kind of figured I had to do it again.
Yeah, it was a show that had me, Smokey Beard was in the show, Tim was in the show. It was kind of a show of a bunch of friends that kind of came together at the last minute. That was really stressful.
Yeah.
I thought you would say, like, that was really cool.
Well, it was great once the show was done. That was fun, but that was really stressful.
Oh, you know what? I know that feeling. It's like, oh, that was really good memory to look back on. Like, that was a really cool thing. During it was hell.
That was the show. Oh, God, it was the worst. That was the show where I broke my record for, like, the most hours spent on an art piece in a short period of time. I think it was, like, something in, like, 4 days. I had put, like, 30 hours or something into a piece. Like,
yeah.
No, not 30. It was more. It was, I literally, in the last, like, 2 weeks up to that show, I worked so much that I was, like, physically, like, sick twice. Like, oh,
dude, you did a me.
Yeah, I did it. It was that thing where it was for 3 straight days in a row. One night I stayed up all night, and then the next night I slept like 2 hours, and then I tried to sleep like 3 hours the next night.
Dude,
and then
I've literally done that.
Yeah,
It's
and then
hell.
you're just sick. You're just sick in the end. Like
You are.
I was doing this drawing and it was too large to fit on my table, so I had to tape it to my wall in my apartment.
Oh my
But the
God.
only wall I had that was clear enough was above the couch, and we didn't have room to move the couch, so I had to stand with 1 foot on the back of the couch and 1 foot on the couch cushion and draw like that for. I think my longest drawing session was something like 17 hours, and then I just was like losing it because then I would work until my neck and back hurt too much, and then I would lay on the floor with my shoe behind my neck, so then I could wait and then do that. Like I had one other instance where I was doing a crunch time for a show like that, and I would draw. It was when I was making this elaborate collage, and I had to keep squinting a lot to make sure like this weird illusion that was supposed to happen was happening. But I had to keep squinting so much that eventually I would start to go kind of cross-eyed. So then I would have to sleep in a chair for 20 minutes until my eyes sorted out. So this beat that in stress. And then my friend Andrew, and he was and roommate at the time to support my cause, which was really awesome of him. He always wanted me to play Silent Hill 2, but I didn't get a chance to do it. So on one of the instances, he sat down and played Silent Hill 2 from beginning to end while I was drawing, so I could like watch it like a movie.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was amazing.
It's like original streaming.
It was like old school original streaming, and it was amazing because I got to like watch a game with one of the best stories ever as a movie, like as I was drawing, That was such a huge thing, man. Like he was being such a homie. I mean, he was just a big fan of Silent Hill too, but that was like a really bro thing to do.
That's really cool. I remember like a similar thing. I ended up doing for book. Was it book 1 or book 2? I think it was book 2. Yes, it must have been because my computer died the week that it had to go to print.
Mm-hmm.
And I was still working on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up pulling a 35. It was either a 35 or a 36-hour day where I was literally drawing comic pages. Like I would draw a page and then I would put it to one side and then I would take the next one on the pile and draw the next one. And all I can remember is like vague memories of still working on that on autopilot and like my boyfriend walking up to me and just patting me on the shoulder and being like, all right, I'm going to bed now. And then later on, all right, I'm going to work now. Are you all right?
Do you have that feeling? Do you have the feeling like when you're going so long that you can actually, it almost feels like your brain is burning a little bit?
You can literally you can feel your body shutting down.
Yeah.
Like you can physically feel like your mouth going dry and your vision going blurry, and your brain, like your memory stops working. Like you can't remember the last 5 pages that you did. You know that you did them because they're in the done pile. Like it was a level of being that I've never been in before. And then I would literally, the next day was then editing, and the day after that was scanning, and the day after, like scanning 200 pages in one day. And then the day after that was lettering, and then the day after that was it needs to be at the printers right now. So I posted it to the printers at like 3 a.m. And then it was literally like, I'm now going to sleep for 2 weeks. And that's what I wanted to do. But I then woke up to, there's a bajillion things wrong with this file that we need to sort out, because that always happens. That always happens.
Never works out. You think you're done and you're so nowhere near
so done. Not done. So then I had to deal with that. And then it was London Comic Con. So
that was, oh God.
It was a month. It was one hell of a month.
I remember hitting the point where I was doing a project. So it was when I was doing this elaborate, I'll just pull up a picture of the collage too. I don't even know what. Oh God, I love that Bob's Burgers drawing. That is so amazing.
It looks really good. I've actually never seen Bob's Burgers, good. But as soon as I saw it, I was like, I know exactly what that's from. That looks so good.
It's like, it's just perfectly executed. So I had this, here, hold on. I can just, it helps to tell the story. It helps to have an image to it. Sorry, I'm getting all over the place here. But I remember working on this piece so long. Okay. I might have shown it on the podcast before, but just in case. It was this piece. This fucking thing. Oh God. Getting flashbacks just working on. So this collage.
Oh yeah, you have shown this.
Yeah. So that was the one where I remember working on that, and at one point I was so like kind of delirious that I was talking to someone, and they were just kind of like, "Mike, are you all right? What's wrong?" And like I thought I was smiling, like they were just like, and I was just like, they're like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, why? What? What's up?" And they're just like, "You just look like something's just not right." And like I didn't realize, like I just had this look on my face like something was like wrong, like I was just really in bad shape, and I literally thought I was like trying to, like I thought I was smiling, but
it's like, you know, I'm fine, and you literally look like death.
Yeah, I didn't know that I was actually physically making a different facial expression than the one I was making. God, I was so delirious by the time that thing was up on the wall.
Have you ever had that thing where you go to speak and it's not the words you intended on saying? Like, I had issues where if I pulled like an all-nighter or something to work on something, the next morning I am as delirious as physically possible. Like someone will say to me, "Okay, it's time to get up." And my response, I would open my mouth and just stutter, continue, like just make noises. And like, they're like, are you like, I got so much hate from my mom being like, "What the hell are you pulling?" I'm like, no, I can't physically speak to you. I know what I want to say, but it's not happening. Like, I don't know what's physically wrong with me. Am I having a stroke? Like, what is this?
What was it, Tim? You had that thing where your record for staying up working on a project.
Yeah.
Where you were
I stayed up
like this.
So I had this paper in college. I took this really intense course, or in university, I took this really intense course that was like one of the most difficult professors in school, and it was impossible. And I was struggling just to keep a decent grade in the class. And one of the things in the course was we had to do a 50-page term paper that goes through the entire semester, like we're supposed to be working on it all the time. But he'd give so much work every single class that you would never had enough time to even think about the term paper. So during the final, during finals week, luckily that class's final presentation was essentially, he made it so all the final was you turn in your term paper. And it was also the very last day of finals. So I luckily had all of my other finals in the very beginning of the week. So I was finished. And then I had 4 days from when I was finished with all my other finals until when this paper was due. I hadn't started it until I finished my finals. And so basically I had a stack of books that I read all, I don't know, I mean, I didn't necessarily read through them as much as I skimmed through them. Probably a good like 8,000 pages of book that I had to like read through for material purposes. And then wrote a 50-page paper, all with staying up in like 4 straight days, completely like no sleep, barely any food, nothing. Like I'd go to bed, or I'd go to bed. My parents would go to bed and they'd be like, "So you're gonna be much longer?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And then I'm like, I have to finish. I'll get some sleep sometime. And then they'd wake up in the morning.
One day in the future.
Like, have you slept yet? But no. And then they go to work. Then they come back. The same thing kept happening day after day after day. Till finally, it was the day that it was due. And I think it was like due at like 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And I finished around 11 or so. And I didn't save it because I wasn't thinking properly. I was completely in a zone, which was really weird. And everything worked out really well, except for like logical reasoning. So I didn't save it. I printed it out, and then I was still in my pajamas. I just like, I stapled the whole thing together, put it all together, and like grabbed my bag and like went out to my car. And I remember putting the key in the ignition and then not knowing what else to do. And then after a few minutes of just like sitting in my car, not knowing like how cars work, I went inside and I asked my dad if he can give me a ride to school. And so he gave me a ride, and I dropped the paper off. And like I was like the whole time like I don't know what was real and what wasn't.
Yeah.
I was hallucinating. I didn't eat. I didn't have an appetite. Like I don't know what I was saying, but he kept asking me if I was all right. And he knew that I wasn't on any sort of drugs or anything because he had seen me there all day, every day. And it's not like I was like, and also I don't do those sorts of things, but yeah, it's your parents. They probably don't believe you even if you don't.
Yes, they're going to think you did regardless.
Yes. So essentially, like,
shit.
Yeah, I was 4 days with no sleep, and I was in a really weird headspace, visually, mentally, seeing, hearing things. And then I was really tired, but I couldn't go to sleep. So I stayed up for another probably 12 hours after that, until I finally passed out and slept for like a good 14 hours.
Nailed the paper, though.
Oh, yeah. So that's kind of an awesome thing. So
Well done. Holy crap.
I did really well on the paper. So it brought my grade from where I thought I was doing pretty poorly to having an A in the class.
Oh, nice.
So, but to this day, I've never seen the paper.
Like, so he doesn't know.
I have no
Oh,
idea.
you don't know what you did?
I don't know. I have I know what what it was on. I just don't know what I wrote. I have no idea like, any of the theories. I have no idea of any of the details of anything. It was completely just like this spontaneous thing that happened.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's completely amazing.
Yeah, and I wanted to get the paper back, but the professor went on sabbatical for an entire year. It was the class was leading to the summer break, and so he was going on sabbatical for a whole year. So essentially, there was the summer break, so it's 3 months, and then for an entire year he's gone, and then another 3 months. So by the time he came back, it would already been a year and 6 months, and I mean you're in college and university, like you don't think about like, oh, I'm gonna go get that paper back.
Yeah.
It's just like, you know, stressing out for whatever's next.
Yeah.
So
He owes you.
that was my story. And to this day, I kind of still think that like with the grade that he gave me, that paper's got to be published somewhere.
All right, I'm going to jump back into the silence. Goodbye.
Peace. How are we doing on time, Tim? What time is it right now?
It's 8:03.
Okay. So yeah, we'll wrap up in a half hour. So then I gotta go. I gotta go meet someone at a bar to sell them a MIDI controller.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah. I hope they want it. I hope they do buy it.
I don't think
Get
I'm going to
more
be done in a half hour.
I think I'm actually gonna be done. That'd be weird. Me finishing before you. Something's fucking wrong in the universe.
Well,
I'm working all loosey-goosey on this one. I already fucked up his forehead on accident, so I don't know what I'm going to do about that. I accidentally dabbed a bunch of spots with the paper towel on his head, and I don't want to add paint. So I might just have to kind of try to bury it in some line work. Just try to not make it as noticeable. Whatever. It'll be fine. Oh, my Lord. I haven't even jumped in the chat in a while. Let's see what's going on in the chat world.
yeah, there's a lot, and I'm so far behind.
I see a new name in the chat I'm not familiar with. I should get permission if I can say it on the podcast.
This one?
Yeah, the initials MF. Are we allowed to say your name on the podcast? We like getting permission before we say any names. Because we just don't want it. Because we know, since this is a Reddit-based thing, it tends to you want to respect people's option for anonymity if need be. So let us know.
I kind of feel like we need some sort of game or something.
I know. I got so intense into this drawing because I was kind of expecting to work looser and then go through those slides. But then I started working fast. And now it's kind of the thing where I wasn't really I just kind of got in the zone and then I zoned out. I got to call Roger, have him bring a game over.
Speaking of Roger, I think my drawing actually kind of looks more like Roger than this dude.
Have him back on the show. He can bring another game. Come up with another one. He was the one that had the trying to guess if the piece was a title to a paranormal romance novel or the title to a Lassen painting.
Bone Magic.
Bone Magic. My favorite story ever. I just love that when we saw that there was a book called Bone Magic when we were in the bookstore and I was trying to sell a bunch of books and then we were laughing so hard about it and then later he went back to the store to buy it.
I like how he was too embarrassed to buy it with you there.
Is that what? Because I thought it was that he just
back.
didn't really think about it and then he was just like, I need to own this book and then went back.
I thought it was that he was embarrassed, but then he told you about it, so that wouldn't make sense.
Yeah, I was there. I was there for the magic that is Bone Magic. That's the best name of a book ever.
I can confirm that he just decided later on that he wanted to go back and get it.
Yeah. Going back to get the Bone Magic.
I was recently looking through that episode and editing it because someone asked me what the lesson game was, and I was like, I need to show you.
Yeah, that's a
lesson game.
That's a good game, and it has to be played through demonstration. It's harder to describe than
Yeah, I was like, you have to
be a
see
part
it
of it.
happen.
Yeah, you got to just be a part of the lesson game. The lesson game happens to you. You got to get more games on the podcast. It's been a little while. I feel bad. I was going to be much more informative this one, but then I got in the zone. That happens sometimes. You got to just roll with the zone when you get into it. Especially because I've been out of the zone for like a straight month. I was working on another drawing and I just, here was this one. I'll show it. It wasn't for RGD or anything. It's not done. Actually, now, wait. I'm going to wait till it's finished. I'm not showing it. Screw it. I'll wait till it's done. I'll put it in the lounge when it's finished. I just looked at it and decided it needs to be done more. It's too early. Sorry. Little tease. Oh, I have permission. Now the problem is I have the responsibility to pronounce a name that I don't know how to pronounce. Is it Micaiah? Micaiah Farrell? What do you think?
Probably.
I'd guess Micaiah.
Or Micaiah.
Micaiah. Well, let's go back here because I was going to read some things from the chat. Oh, God. Oh, no. It's so far back now. I'm lost. I'm reading about people having Instagrams. You know, I should probably do another post soon in the artist lounge for people to post their social network links. I do that every now and then we leave it sticky for a while so everyone can post their Instagram, Facebook, Tumblr, web stores, et cetera, so they can follow each other and everyone can kind of put what projects they're working on and all their merch and whatnot. And then I usually leave it up for a little while and then we pull it so that way when we do it again, I can always give a heads up first to let people know. That way it kind of refreshes the order because with Reddit, if you are kind of come late to it, there's less of a chance people are going to see your stuff. So I try to do it regularly so everyone has a chance to really kind of get their stuff out there. I guess that was a lot of the conversation. That was pretty much the whole conversation. I thought there was something else going on. That was my bad.
What was going on?
I thought there was a whole conversation I was going to dive into with it in the podcast, but people were just talking about Instagram.
Oh, yeah.
I don't really know where to take that. Tim's not on Instagram. Tim's not on smartphone yet. We'll get you there one day. You're a holdout, Tim. I want to try to finish this before you finish yours. That's my only goal. It's not even if it's good or not. It's just I want to finish before you finish your drawing.
That won't happen because I'm done. Whoa.
That's how it works, man. That's how you determine if it's good. Art's a lot like sex. Whoever finishes first is the best at it. I think a lot of people are going to agree with me on that one. Art is a race. Whoever finishes the first is the best artist. Wow, Mike. Yeah. You see, I'm sorry, sir. I just got to get all these things out while you can't use your voice because then I just got to get it out there. And I just torture you by saying things like this.
I'm kind of surprised you haven't started saying things like via Sarah.
Like what?
Oh God! Oh
like
God!
Like, I don't know. Whatever Mike says.
Like I'll just make things up and say that Sarah told me about it.
Like Sarah told me this and that, and you're not here to defend yourself. Like I didn't say that. I heard that.
Yeah, I really could be pushing those kind of things more. I think you're getting off easy this episode.
There's a thing that I can talk about, but like I'm not meant to be talking, so I feel like I shouldn't.
So you're gonna have to like wait on it.
Yeah.
It's all right. Do you want me to just like talk about it for a while and then you can like jump in with your thoughts next week?
So,
okay.
Someone remind me, and I'll show the actual thing that I've got, and then I can talk in detail about it. But I've basically made a life plan, in terms of art. Like it's literally my how to be a master plan, okay? And
wow.
It's literally a breakdown of every single thing I need to be able to be good at,
Mhm.
and then move on to the next section, and then use that knowledge to then become good at those things. And it's like a step by step, and then at the end of it, it's like, okay, now you are at the best that you can be at this possible moment in time. Now just use that and work on it, and you're just going to slowly get better. But this is how to get really, really good in a logical and controlled manner. And it's like a massive, oh, what the hell? I'll just show it. What the hell?
This sounds intense. This sounds like the kind of thing that you fill out, and as life goes on and you see those plans and goals not going the way that they're supposed to be planned, it gets really stressful.
No, this is like fundamentally.
Oh, okay.
It
as
has
long as you don't attach dates to it.
Yeah, it has no time limits on it. That's the thing.
Okay, good. Don't not attach dates to that, because that would make that absolutely miserable to try to live up to.
Okay, so if I jump over to my screen, you can see it on my screen. So this is like my mini art plan. It goes up further than this.
Let me I want to switch screens. Holy God, you are so organized. That is, are you?
I don't even know if you can see this properly, and I don't know why my computer is like scrolling, but whatever. But it goes up further than this. But this is like, this little box here is like, you must master this. And I've got the art fundamentals. So I've got proportion and placement, form and construction, perspective, anatomy, gesture, composition, values, color theory, light and shadow. Under that, I've got a description of exactly what those things are. So, for example, I could get confused about the difference between portion and placement, form and construction, and anatomy, right? So I've done exactly what these particular things are. Then under that, all of these are ways of studying that exact particular thing. Like form and construction, you can study with mannequins, whereas gesture you can study through figure drawing, for example. And it's like, how do you target that exact thing? And a lot of them are like interlinked, but if you only wanted to study one of them, what exact thing would you do to master that, right? So the idea is that I master each of these individual things to the best of my ability. Obviously, the difference between me as a 20-year-old artist and as a 50-year-old artist is going to be completely different. Like, I'm going to look back and go, actually, there's loads of things I didn't know. I accept that. But this is my way of, like, understanding what I need to work on to be the best version of me. So I do all those. Then I use those, and it won't be as linear as this. It's kind of like, you have to master these to then be able to, I have like particular subjects I want to master. So for example, like they're split into like different types of subjects. So here I've got like metals, engineering, medieval work, vehicles and robotics. Here I've got animals and creatures, both friendly and aggressive. Here I've got time periods, so historical works, modern day works, futuristic, and what are the pattern between those? What do we like relate them to? And using the things here in the art fundamentals, I can then teach myself these whilst having that solid concrete base. That means that I always know like what I'm doing. And then from there, I put in specialization. Now, this is the more vague area. This is you will get to this through doing this rather than you do this, then you do this, if that makes sense. So specialization, I've got like practice a unique style, which you'll discover through doing these things. Identify what your favorite subjects are and practice those in particular. Like, obviously you want to work out your comfort zone, work on things that you're not good at. But if you want to get known as being really good for one particular thing, like, then do that. Like, that's a good thing. Then I've got be different and use your own experiences. Like, what is it that you've seen in your real life that means that you'll create something different from someone else? Exaggerate and experiment with your favorite designs. Like, what kinds of things do you really like? For example, Psych did a series called Pointy Chins. And he points out that he really likes pointy objects and pointy characters. So he takes that and pushes it to the extremes. That's the kind of concept there. Then I've also got pay attention to popular culture trends, watch old great movies, play video games for inspiration, really like look at what you love and what others have loved and try to learn from it. And then finally, people watch, visit zoos and aquariums, and sketch from life. Like, you never should stop sketching from life. You should always be observing and learning new things. I've found that since I've started to try and like actively do that, I'll notice little things, but things that matter, like the way that people stand can be completely different when they're just like relaxing. Like, you'll see one guy who's standing so like relaxed, it looks like he's leaning on a wall even though he's in the middle of the street. And then you'll see like some woman like walk past and suddenly stop, and she's so like tense looking at her phone trying to figure out where to go, and you see that like emanating from like the way she's on her tiptoes all the way up through her body, the fact that she's like leaning forward slightly, kind of crouched around her phone. Like, those particular little things are the only things you can only learn them from watching people. No one tells you those things, and the fact that you pick up on certain things and another artist picks up on other things is what makes your work different and more special than those other artists. So I've kind of made too much work for myself, but whatever. But I wondered if anyone had ever thought about doing this themselves, like this kind of thing, or am I just crazy?
I was just gonna say you were crazy before you asked.
But like,
I've never seen. Have you never just like, I
want to be right? You know, when you see like a movie and then there's that one like, I don't know, Japanese sword master, right? And you know he can do anything with a sword. You know that like he has trained while standing under a waterfall in the mountains for like 50 years, and now he is the master of the sword. And he just looks at it and you know he controls it with his mind like a Jedi, right? I want to be that, but for art. Right?
Oh yeah, I know that. It's just funny because like their approaches are so different. Is you have this thing, you're just like, I'm gonna analyze and study every detail. Whereas mine is, I'm like the Kung Fu movie where I'm just like, they're just, you know, the things just like carry these buckets of water up the mountain. And I'm just like, and then I'm like, I guess I just need to carry the buckets of water. Like, I don't like.
And then suddenly you're Master Kung Fu.
Well, I'm more just the thing, right? It's like I throw myself in the environment and then I'm just like, adapt, motherfucker. Like, just figure it out. And you have to do it. Like one thing I was going to tell people earlier is almost like that thing. Like, I think everyone should have an experience where you just like agree to an art show that you don't think you could do. And then you just have to make it work. Because the weird thing about the art world is no matter, so often you're going to be like, there is no way this is going to work out. And it always works out. Even when you fail, it's still like, oh God, that was horrible. But like, you're still fine. Like, you're there, you're coherent eventually after some rest. And, you know, you ate food, you're not dead. And you're just like, oh, okay. And you can just like, it will just work out. So then I kind of find myself in situations where sometimes I'm just like, I mean, that's like when I was talking about like kind of doing the gallery in the studio, it just kept escalating. And then part of my brain, like I should have had that level of organization because it would have helped. But kind of the way it was, I was just like, just do it. And then when something needs to happen, you just have to figure it out and then you will, like, because you're just going to have to do it. Like, you won't have a choice not to.
I think the thing is, it's not necessarily that I'm organized. Like, Shrinify is like, oh, wait, let me get the actual wording. You're just insanely organized. It's not a bad thing. And you've also mentioned being organized. I don't think it's organization. I think it comes from something else. I think I like to analyze and I like to plan. Now that sounds, well, you're organized then, but if you speak to anyone in my family and then said, oh yeah, Sarah's really organized, they will laugh in your face. They'll be like, have you seen her life? Like, have you seen everything that emanates around her? The fact that she walks into places and like books emanate from like the ceiling and everything falls over and all of a sudden there's cat mess everywhere. Like, she's not organized and she's not like, but I think it comes from a level of being driven. Like, I really, really don't want to fail. And I really, really want to get somewhere fast. But like, I enjoy the journey, but like, sorry, I keep saying but like all the time, but I really want to get to a particular place, and I like to know exactly how to do that, if that makes sense.
Well, and what it is it's just different ways to deal with obsession and addiction. Like that's pretty much that's how I view a role in art. That's how I really see art, is I see it as a combination between obsession and addiction. And so with you, though it reads as organization, what it really is it's an obsession. You're just like, you want to know every detail, and that obsession is forcing you to organize things here because you're not normally organized. It's like people will look at my art and they'll be like, "Oh my God, you must have crazy patience." And it was just like, no, it was, I was like, no, I was absolutely miserable making this. I was so like, I was crawling in my skin. I could not stand making some of these paintings. I just really wanted these paintings to exist. And so it was an obsession through my addiction that like, I just kind of like, I'm making art and I need to do it. I don't, even if it's not good for me, you know? And I think that's where that speaks. That's why I saw that chart and it was hilarious to me. I remember being in like, I could have used that level of and the analytical level you had, because I remember trying to make like charts as I was younger. I called them cool sheets. I literally called them cool sheets. I wasn't trying to be cool. They were only for me. It was just things I thought would be cool to do. And I would just write these lists of things I wanted to do, or
I did
what I wanted to make. And eventually I had like, it was like legal size pads. I had like 17 pages filled with these insane little notes.
I write down every single dream that I have into my phone, just in case one day I'm like, that's a really good idea.
Yeah, that's the thing. And people do that. I remember Yoni, you know, aka Smokey Beard on Reddit, he would have this little, like, totally tattered, tiny piece of paper in his wallet, and Tim remembers, with all these insane little notes, and he would just like fold it up like a little treasure map.
Oh.
I don't know if he still has it, but I'm like,
No, he lost his wallet, and it was in his wallet.
oh, damn.
He had that thing for like 10 or 15 years or something.
Oh, it was insanity, you know?
And it was the most amazing thing I've ever seen. It was like this little tiny scroll of taped together pieces of paper.
It was so tattered.
And the writing was so small and so delicate and so tiny. And there was like the most random things on there, like phone numbers and like just quotes or like things to do.
Books to read, just like some attempt to just try to like make sense of it all. Like it just was like not working at all. I don't know. I'd be curious. I'll have him on the show sometime, because I'd be curious to hear how he justified that weird sheet of paper. But yeah, no, as I see that, and it totally makes sense. Like, who knows what's going to happen with that list? And then I don't know. I had that. It just depends what it's for. Like, there was some things I hit a certain point where I had to just be like, I remember making a conscious decision when I burned out really hard from like the studio and the gallery stuff, and then just art and everything about a year and a half ago. And I remember I just told myself, I was like, you need to just let some things just fall away, like beyond your control. And I said, and I made I used to be really organized on my phone. I would always have like, every day you need to do this, 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 this. And eventually I said, my decision was stop putting things in your phone and just let yourself forget to do things, because you can't do all of it. And the things you will naturally forget to do will be the ones that are a little less important to you. And sometimes you'll screw up and you'll miss an important one, and you got to let that slide. But like, I had to let like the natural course of just screwing up like back into my life, and it helped. But then there's some things like I need to get back, you know, I because it goes back and forth. You slip too far one way, then too far the other, you know. But yeah, I don't know, like right now. So right now I'm still kind of in that weird wandering stage. Oh crap, I'm gonna have to actually leave soon, because I need to go sell some. I need to go meet someone from Craigslist to try to sell them a keyboard.
Don't get stabbed.
I might get stabbed. That's what I was talking about when we started the show, is my potential in being stabbed. I'm gonna leave you guys here for a second. I gotta go do something real quick. I will be back in a minute. Sorry, I don't mean you should be talking, so I shouldn't really put you on the spot.
You're such a butt.
I'm a butt. That's totally my bad, but I'll be right back in a sec. All right.
Bye. Tim, do you do any crazy OCD bullshit like me?
No, I'm perfectly normal.
Yeah.
No, that's a complete lie. Crazy OCD things?
Like,
I mean,
do you do any like crazy life, like analyzing way too much? Like,
I analyze everything way too much. I can't think properly because I take there's too much of my life is analyzing life. There was somebody posted this little like diagram. It was this little weird little cartoon about depression on Reddit the other day. And like, it's what people think depression is. And it's like this little dude, and it just has like his whole body is filled purple and it says sad. And then the other side is like the same little person, but it's separated into all these different things of like, one little sliver is sad and the other is like anxious and trying to figure out what you're doing with yourself, and like all these different things about like, overanalyzing and just things in life. And I'm like, I kind of feel like that. There's like so much going on.
That sounds like life in general.
Yeah.
That sounds like everything I've ever known.
And then I thought, well, maybe I'm depressed.
I don't know. I feel like all three of us would be prescribed depression based on like that comment. I feel like there's a combination of things that have to be happening for it to actually be a thing. I feel like all three of us would be like, oh yeah, no, definitely based off of that.
Yeah.
Because we're all crazy.
I do other OCD things that are pretty strange, and I don't know. I mean, I don't make spreadsheet lists in the same way you do, but I do write things down on little sheets of paper and little notes and have like Post-its everywhere.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Which is kind of the same thing.
It is kind of the same thing. My mom used to do that all the time. I will always find a sticky note somewhere, and it will have like incoherent babble on it and a random drawing of a face.
Oh, that's the other thing too. Is like, a lot of people always tell me that I have really good handwriting, and for the most part, I try to have decent handwriting. And but whenever I write notes to myself, they are 100% completely illegible to anyone.
Good. That's the only way they should be.
And I don't know really where that comes from. I think it's just me trying to do things quickly.
Yeah.
And also make it so that other people can't really tell what I'm doing.
Like Leonardo da Vinci or something.
Yeah, kind of. I don't know. I might be a little paranoid sometimes.
Aww.
It's the reason I don't post on Reddit or other places.
It's okay. We love you. Schmidfly says, I have lists. The Google Keep app. I have long to-do lists. Rarely I get to complete any of it, though. Or all of it, though. I set up like my phone as a PA system a little while back. It was a few podcasts ago now. And it's been doing well. The only issue is I didn't account for like getting sick, which is unfortunate. Like all of the dates don't match up anymore because it's like, well, I was sick for a week and therefore only got half the work done. So now nothing matches up. But I think I put in long enough like backup time that it's going to be okay. Like it's going to work out. I'm fairly chill with it, which I was concerned that, well, Mike was concerned that I would go nuts and like it would destroy my entire life. But
wait, what was that? Hold on, I came in here late. I just got back. What was that concern would ruin your life?
My little PA system for my phone.
The personal assistant.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I found that like I didn't account for being sick. Like I've only done half the work that I was meant to do because I've been sick. But I think I put in enough buffer time, so I think I'm okay. I think the good thing is that I'm not worried about it. I'm like, well, it'll work out in the end. Like as long as I keep relatively close to it, then things will be okay. So I'm not freaking out like, oh my god, I missed one deadline and now I will die, which is pretty good. I'm happy with that. Kenneth Hung says, I wish I made lists more often. Shwinify says, I'm definitely obsessive though. I actually finish my art pieces too fast. A commission piece, the guy mentioned he didn't expect it too soon and he didn't have the payment ready.
Oh, wow. That's an interesting scenario I've never had happen. That's intense.
That's actually like a big deal because I find that pointing out when it's due, like near the beginning of the like commission, is really important because someone will say, oh, well, I'm not getting paid till January. And it's like, well, okay, that means I don't need to prioritize your work. That means I'm going to work on someone else's in December and then I'll work on yours in January because like you won't be able to pay me. So I can't give you the artwork anyway. It'll just sit right here in front of me and I'll do nothing with it, even though I rushed to get it finished. So I do actually like make sure that I communicate all that with the person to begin with. Like it's sometimes it doesn't go the way you expect it to. Sometimes it takes way longer than you expect to do. Sometimes it takes way less time than you expected it to. But I do find that it's important to do that just because it stops you ending up in sticky situations. Like the clients are going to be well happy because you finished everything really early and they're like, oh, well, I'll pay you whenever. But then you're left with, well, I just put in maybe 15 hours of work and didn't get paid for it. And I'm not getting paid for it until next month, which is awkward.
That makes sense. It usually takes me so long to do them anyway.
Shminify says, it's definitely important. You need to specify when you might have it ready. A thing I do is send the art pieces watermarked so you guarantee you'll be paid. I also do that, but I also make sure I send them a low quality version on top of that because people can get rid of watermarks. Like that's physically possible. They could take it somewhere else and get the watermark removed. So I try to make sure if I put a watermark on something that it covers at least 3 different colors or 3 different objects if it's black and white. And then I also make sure that it's like, if it's a traditional piece, it's a photograph and not a scan. And if it's a scan, it scans in like separate sections that you would then have to stick together. And then digital pieces as low resolution as I can that still shows the quality of the artwork. So like they just can't blow it up to the size they want it to be. What I do is I take a screenshot of my screen rather than the actual piece because they're not going to be able to do anything with a screenshot. And I'll usually leave in like on my page, you can see where it says like new canvas and stuff like that because I haven't saved it because I'm a terrible human being. Things like that, I'll leave that in sometimes if it's like something that I put serious amounts of hours into, just because I have had moments where I've had two opposites. I've had someone go to get a piece of artwork, commission the whole thing, I did the whole thing, and then they vanish off the face of the earth. Like it's there ready, and I'm like, that'll be 70 quid or whatever. And then they vanish off the face of the earth and I can't contact them. And then I've also had people like stop the commission like partway through or whatever and then vanish off the face of the earth. And it's like, did you just take the version that you were happiest with and then run? Like,
yeah,
I don't know. Shrinify says, I definitely recommend getting paid up front when possible. Yeah.
I do deposit up front and for me, I guess I don't have to worry as much for watermarks and whatnot because I all my commissions so far, since I haven't done much digital, has all been traditional. So they're all expecting to get a physical thing to give to someone.
Yeah.
But that is a thing. I do take a deposit up front, if not so much to like guarantee that I get covered, but it just guarantees their commitment that they won't just decide that they don't care anymore and move on from it. I gotta be honest. I gotta head out of here. I gotta run out.
You gotta run?
I gotta run like ASAP.
All right, should we finish the podcast, or do you want to run and me and Tim will finish off the podcast?
Either way, I mean, I guess if you guys actually, probably better if you guys wrap it up. I'm supposed to meet someone at 8:45, so I need to get somewhere in nine minutes. So
Okay.
I lost track of time. Yeah, so I guess just wrap it up. Sorry to leave that on. I hope that just takes a minute. I know you're not supposed to talk much here. You got to save the voice.
Okay. It's okay. I will be okay. If my voice dies tomorrow, I'm just not doing the podcast next week. Like, that would be 2 weeks in a row.
If it dies tomorrow, I take full responsibility.
Yep.
You can blame it on me. Everyone can write hate mail to me.
Hate mail.
I'll take it and I'll just ignore the hate mail. Why would I read it? Why would I read hate mail? I don't care. I'll just ignore it. But but still, it would be a gesture. All right. I will catch you guys later.
All right. Nice to see ya.
You too. Peace out. Bye, everybody.
Sayonara, sucker.
All right then,
Alright.
chat. Any last questions and any last artwork? Please let me know, and I'll show it on screen. I shall jump it over to my screen for a little bit, seeing as nothing will be happening on that screen. Also, I apologize for my coughing. That was the reason why I turned the mic off. Oh well, life moves on. Ooh, we have a Same Dog piece. So this is the Same Dog. This is the piece, and it's for this RGD. Awesome.
Oh, it's great.
I love the curly hair.
Yeah.
There's so much texture. I love it. Love it. Oh, how do I go? Boop, boop. There we go. Very awesome. Oh, I love seeing people's artwork. We've barely got any artwork like on the actual show last week. So it's really nice to see people's artwork again now.
The show last week went pretty fast.
Oh yeah, it did. We went till like 3 a.m. here or something. Yeah, it went really fast.
Let's see.
Slam did one in the Ice Lounge. Let me see.
I don't know where these windows are.
Sorry, I've got it, man.
Oh.
I got it.
Trying to find all of Mike's stuff. Whoa. There's a lot going on in this.
There we go. Oh, wow. This is Slam 9's piece, work in progress drawing.
Oh, that's cool.
It's a personal project. I read something about sirens and thought about how it would translate to a more modern setting. Oh, I like it.
Sirens in space.
All right. I really like this one. She looks like she's giving me like Medusa's vibes, like the way the hair is all curling around. Oh my God, so cool.
I think Mike is streaming himself walking to the.
I was so curious if this would work. Can you hear
Oh
me?
my God. Hello, we can hear you.
Hey guys, what's up?
Oh, jeez.
I wanted to be the friend that's like when everyone's hanging out, and then you see the friend that nobody likes like show up, like, oh hey guys, and you're like, oh God, Mike's coming.
Oh, hey guy. Wait, which one is it? Let me turn. Must be that one. I think I've turned your mic up, Mike.
Oh, could you guys not hear me?
It's quite quiet.
Yeah, it's really low. Oh.
Well, you know what? I'm just gonna go. I just wanted to see if this would work.
Where are you? Show us some cool stuff.
All right, this is the neighborhood. Here's a hardware store.
Can we click on his thing so it shows up front, or?
What do you mean?
I mean, is he showing up on the actual chat?
Yeah, you should do.
Oh,
Let me
yeah,
just-
there he is. Sorry, I was looking on the other one. Oh,
Oh, the YouTube version doesn't seem to be working very well. It's very choppy.
You know what, then? I probably should get going. I just wanted to, see the end of the show. This is the neighborhood. I'm now walking to get stabbed, so this will be the last you guys will ever hear from me. As I meet someone from Craigslist.
Have fun,
They,
bye.
And they stabbed me in the neck.
Wow.
I'll catch you guys later.
Alright, see ya.
Bye.
He is a
So-
crazy person.
So now it makes sense why sometimes people have like really shitty pictures that they post. Like we can barely tell what it is because of potato quality phone.
Yeah.
Apparently Mike's been taking those photos.
How has he got such a bad quality phone? What the hell?
Yeah, I thought within this day and age, like getting a photo that bad quality is impossible.
I know, my phone would be way better at that. I don't know what he's doing. Unless if it's because it's streaming, it's really bad. I don't know. I don't know.
The chat.
Nothing's happening in chat. They're being boring. They're just telling each other how they're all so pretty.
Oh. I want to be pretty too.
It's okay, you are. But no one will ever know.
Yeah.
Mysterious Tim. I don't know what I'm doing right now. I'm just throwing paint at this because we need to wrap up. We were supposed to wrap up like 10 minutes ago.
I kind of did the same with mine. I spent way too much time trying to get all detail in the face, and then I was like, this is taking too much time. And then
Can I see it?
quickly used a marker to do crazy stuff. It's not very good. I don't know.
Don't say that before you show something. Show it and everyone will freak out and be like, oh my god, it's awesome.
I can't see the thing where it's
Up a
at.
tiny. There we go. Ah, cool. I really like the what do you call it? The scarf.
Yeah.
Swinify says you make pretty art, Tim. So there's that. in reference to you wanting to be pretty.
Oh, pretty art is good.
Pretty art is good. Did you use a white pen for the hair?
I didn't. No, I just didn't color those in with black.
You're a crazy person. You know that, right?
Yeah.
That's your crazy. My crazy is list, and that's your crazy.
Well, I don't have any examples right now, but so when I was in school, I used to just do drawings with no background, and one of my friends told me I needed to add things to it, like filler, and so he was like, just do like hatch marks, and then so I started doing little 9x9 like slash marks. So each line was probably, I don't know, like 3 centimeters. And I do 9 of them in a row, and then do the other way and do 9. So it's 9x9 grid of like 3 centimeter tall or 3 centimeter long lines.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think 3 centimeters is right. Centimeters are pretty small, right?
Yeah.
And
Millimeters are the smallest. So wait. Look on my screen, right? Layer, new layer, pencil. So that would be about 1 centimeter by centimeter square,
yeah, that's about right.
and that would be about millimeter by millimeter ish.
Yeah, that's impossible. So I would just do these grids and fill the entire background of every drawing I did after that with just hatch marks of that. Like just, I would twist them so that it weren't all just like a whole big grid. I wonder if I can just, I don't know, show you. I'll also use a little sheet of paper. This one's messed up. Photo pan, so it won't show. Okay.
Dude, there's a video by Alfonso Dunn about using hatching marks. You would love it.
So essentially, I would just go like this.
and then like this, and then like continue to do this, but a lot like neater. These ones are very quick and messy. Like I would actually like be very, I don't know, particular in the directions that they're going, and just make this big mess. But then I would fill this like huge, just pages and pages and pages. And then it got to the point where instead of just doing it for background, I just did full pages of gradients. And then I stopped doing that because it took forever. And
yeah, because it like ate your life.
yeah, and nobody liked them.
Oh no!
They always just like, people would say, "Why would you do that? It just looks like it would be miserable." I'm like, no, but I don't know. I like it.
Oh, you should keep doing it.
Yeah.
And then hate yourself. You've inspired me to draw lines now.
Oh, lines are difficult.
I'm not really like putting any effort into them though. I'm kind of like just throwing all over the place.
Yeah. I like your drawing.
Thank you.
Especially like how you somehow know the form well enough to turn him.
That's because I've been studying.
Turned his body, not 3/4. Is that?
It's almost 3/4.
Almost 3/4.
Yeah. It's not quite because he's quite like forward towards us because I wanted it to match with like how forward his face was. It's very much like a James Bond pose. But yeah, so this kind of goes back to the let me zoom out a little bit. Boop, 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 boop. This kind of goes back to what I was saying with that massive sheet of like planning stuff. So what I've been doing is I decided to pick anatomy because that's probably the one thing that I know a base level about. I know the basic forms of stuff, but I've never actually studied it. So I thought, right, I'm going to start with anatomy. That'll be the first fundamental that I, quote, try to master. Obviously, I'm not going to master it. It's like when I'm 22, it's just not going to happen. But I can get it to a level where it's at the best understanding that I can have at the moment. So every day, I open my sketchbook and I pick a new piece of anatomy and I study that piece of anatomy to like the nth degree. And if you go to my Instagram, which is Gyzra, Gyzra, you can see a video of me flicking through a few pages of my Instagram, and also some like actual photographs of some of the pages. So what I've been doing is essentially like I'll look at anatomical studies of the subject. So let's say I pick a leg, right? I'll look at anatomical images of it from like medical books, and I won't just look at one. I'll look at a whole bunch of different ones, and also like 3D renditions of it, like being turned in space, because I find that sometimes you find that like one medical journal will draw something one way and another medical journal will draw it another way. So what you want to try and look for is what are the patterns? Like, why have they chosen them to be drawn in this way? What is the overarching, this tends to be true kind of thing? So I'll focus on that, and then I'll draw my own anatomical versions of it, front, back, and side. I think the biggest important thing for me is to draw the side view, because that really gets... You don't normally see that in anatomical drawings, and it kind of helps to get the sort of like 3D form of the object and really get in that like cylindrical quality of it and see how it like bulges in different places. So I'll look at that. I'll write down all the different like bones and the different muscles that are like the most important in that little area. And I won't look at anything above the hip or anything below the ankle. I'll kind of look at how they kind of spread into those areas, like the different tendons and stuff, but I won't focus on it. That is for another day. Abs is another day, and feet is another day. So then I take that knowledge, and then I look at photographs of athletes, normal people, actors with that body part on show, and draw it and try to pay attention to where I can see the muscles that I've just written down in the photograph that I'm looking at. So I might find that on a woman, for example, I might see that some things aren't as defined as they are on a man, like in like a random choice of people. I'll draw loads of different positions of the particular body part, and I'll pay attention to different body weights as well. Like if someone's really like, they've worked really hard, they're really fit, like a boxer, they're going to have certain ways you see it. You might see really defined muscles and very close to the skin. Whereas I actually drew, I was drawing the torso, and I drew size 6, which is America size 4, I think. Size 6, size 16, and size 26. So I was drawing very different forms and paying attention to, well, how do the underlying structures fit within these forms, and how can I replicate that later? And the idea is that I can then master how something looks in 3D and just look at one thing and go, well, now I know how to turn it in 3D space. That's the idea. So that's what I'm practicing doing at the moment.
Another thing that comes from that will be very helpful is once you understand all of the anatomy and you understand how the muscles work, they're pretty much standard for every person.
Yeah.
They're different on every person just because everyone is built differently depending on their weight or their size or whatever. But in general, we have the same muscle structures, the same bone structures.
The underlying element is still the same, and it always will be.
And then knowing that, also with you being someone who can do illustration and draw from your head, it makes it a lot easier too when you're just drawing something and you're not using a reference.
Yeah. Because I know what should happen.
Still correct. Yeah, because you know how it should look, you know how it should move, you know where the weight should be, and where certain muscles and what volume should be. I mean, what you're doing is probably one thing that I think everyone who studies figure should do.
Yeah.
So it's really important that you're doing that, and the fact that you are teaching yourself this, and like you're not, you don't have a professor who's being really strict and being like, you have to do all these drawings and know all the anatomy and all of that, and you're just doing it on your own. That's pretty impressive because most people don't have that discipline.
I think the thing is that I really wanted that. I really wanted like a mentor. Like I really wanted a master to be telling me what to do. Like as a kid, when I was trying to apply to universities, it was like, where can I go where there will be that teacher who can look down at me and go, okay, this is what you need to work on, and this is how we're going to bring you to the next stage. And when I've been seeing a lot of my friends graduating from uni recently, and it's kind of like, I'm so proud for them, obviously, but
yeah,
I would have been graduating from uni like in like these next few years, and I'm not because I didn't get in. And it kind of left me with a weird thing of, wait, but at first I was like disappointed, and then I thought, but wait, why did I want to go to uni in the first place? And I remembered it's because I wanted that tuition. I thought, well, maybe if I just force myself to do it and I use the resources that I have, which is internet, books, like searching stuff out, looking for new advice, then maybe I can do it myself. So that's where that mentality comes from. It's not like naturally I feel like studying this. Although as a kid I did do stupid shit like that. I remember one day I vividly remember one day I got a stack of papers and I sat in the middle of the room, and this was like this is how I spent my Saturdays when I was like 10 years old, right?
Oh yeah, I never went outside either.
I like sat in the middle of the room and I opened a book to a random animal, right? It was like an A to Z of animals, and I got dolphins and went, right, this is the animal that I'm going to study and master, and I'll know every single little stupid thing about this animal. And I sat there and drew every image in the book that was of dolphins, and then tried to move it in different ways. And like, I noticed that there was like a certain little line between the dolphin's nose and the dolphin's like tear duct that you could always see. So I tried to like get that into it, and I would pay attention to my cats and get the correct like circular form of their thighs, whereas everyone else would draw them as if they were like a little lump with 4 little sticks for legs. And I thought that was just stupid shit that I did all the time. So I guess it kind of is ingrained in me, but now I have a purpose to do it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, another thing that you may not know or you may not realize is, I mean, having like being able to study under a master or someone who, I mean, let's face it, a lot of professors, whether or not they're good artists, might not necessarily be the best teachers, or the best teachers might not be the best artists. So finding someone who you think is a master to study under can be a difficult task in general, because first you have to find the person whose work you really admire, and then you have to convince them, if they're not already a professor, to teach you and be that mentor. It's a lot harder to get that than you would imagine, especially just in a university setting where that professor is everyone's professor.
True.
So they don't have necessarily that one-on-one time with you all the time. They might not see things in the same way as you, but in one way that you benefit more than those people going to university is that you're doing these things on your own, and you have a group of peers and also other people that you see as like artists that are progressed more than you, that you can learn from and that you can talk to and that you can go to for any sort of advice or even just feedback or even just talking about anything really. And those people are there, whether it's on Reddit or whether it's through comic book conventions or just people you know, like in your day-to-day life. You have those professors. You just don't have like that one person who gets paid to tell you what to do, essentially. And I think sometimes like having that one person who gets paid to tell you what to do, it's not always a good thing, because then they just tell you to do the things that they would do. They get you to draw like them. They get you to think like them. And I mean, you have to be stubborn and keep to your own ideas and your own ways of doing things, and not always let them influence you negatively. But that sometimes is a really hard thing to understand and to know, like when you're crossing over from learning and taking new knowledge versus just not destroying, but like washing over something that you've taught yourself to do.
Overwriting the you.
Yeah. So you kind of lose your personality in that work, and it becomes more monotonous to your professor and all the other students that they have in their courses. And I mean, there's
Mike always kind of complains about there's an art school here in the Bay Area where you can tell just by their students' work what professors they have.
Oh, really?
Because they tend to adapt their style or their work to how the professor teaches, and the way the professor teaches usually kind of incorporates their own style or their own way of doing things. And so the kids, even though they come in with their own ideas and their own styles and their own ways of making work, they kind of unlearn them and they learn the professor's way. And so it makes them all kind of make the same work.
I think that the biggest phrase that worries me whenever when I was looking at educational institutions, so I've also seen it on particular places on Reddit, is the phrase, forget everything you've learned so far. And it's like, no, don't do that. Like,
don't.
Yeah, it might have like horrendous fundamentals, but everything that you've learned so far makes you use it. Don't like forget it. Maybe you change it in some way, but don't just destroy it. Like, want to open a Photoshop document. There we go. Something's happening in chat. Kenneth Hung says, I have two sketchbooks of animals just the way you're describing that I've done. And then I think he's going to go find them right now.
Wait, right now?
I think so. Ken, are you going to find them right now, or are you going to find them for like later in the week or something? Let me know. Shrinify says, I'm curious to see Sarah's old comics she mentioned and showed in a previous podcast. Sleepy Time Vanilla made a post a while back about that. I shared mine and used to do stuff like that in high school. Yeah, maybe I'll make a thread about it, and I'll try and get everyone to post stuff in it. I just haven't really gotten around to it. I said I would do a thread, but it didn't happen for some bizarre reason. Life happened.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try and like quickly get some. Right now. Oh, he's going. He's going. All right. Whilst you do that, I'm gonna paint some clouds because clouds are awesome.
Everybody loves clouds.
I know, and I've got this awesome cloud brush, and it's amazing. I've got this horrendous cough, and it's awful.
I need to get a new computer.
Really?
Yeah, and then I also want to get something, whether it's a Surface Book or a Cintiq, but some sort of thing where I can start drawing digitally.
Ooh.
Because it just looks like so much fun.
Yeah, it is. I think it's awful at first because it takes a little while to get used to.
Yeah,
but
I used to have a
really fun.
I used to have a really old, crappy, small Wacom tablet, and I was always terrible with it. I mean, the drawing part was easy. Like if I just use a pen tool and just drew, it was fine. It was the same as just sketching on paper. But trying to do anything else, I was always kind of terrible.
A little girl came up to me at a convention like the other week and was saying, do you work on digital stuff? Because I hate my tablet. And I was saying to her, the thing is, it's such a different experience and you don't expect it to be. There's so much more to learn. It reacts in such a different way to you're used to. And I think every artist really struggles with it and creates creates exactly the same looking paintings, right?
Yeah.
If you look at every single person's first like painting and not drawing on a digital tablet, I think they all look exactly the same.
Yeah.
They all have that like, there's no hard edges, they're very wispy, and the colors don't blend. Like every single one of them looks like that. And I think it just takes time to get used to it and to watch a few tutorials and figure it out, and then eventually like it clicks. It's like, okay, I know what I'm doing now.
Yeah. Unless you're Foxtrot.
No, Foxtrot.
Yeah.
Foxtrot's like amazing. I don't know what Foxtrot's doing.
And he's
with
like, what is this thing they call a computer? You can draw with it? Huh,
and then just
I'll
like
try that
touches
out.
it.
Boom.
Amazing.
You get somebody who's like, I made Photoshop and I'm a really famous artist, and how did you do that your first try?
Yeah, exactly. Damn you, Foxtrot. Damn you. Foxtrot doesn't even watch the podcast anymore. Where are you, Foxtrot?
He's I'd imagine he's working.
No, that's not an excuse. What are you talking about?
He's in a different time zone than us.
No, he's in exactly the same. Oh no.
No, he's like tomorrow.
Oh,
He
yeah, he
lives in the
is.
future.
Like my brain went, but he's Scottish, and he is, but he's not in Scotland.
Yeah.
Okay, you're forgiven. You're forgiven, Foxtrot. I hope he sees this.
Yeah, like I don't know. I see things all the time. Just really good digital work. Like even just the piece that's on your desktop right now. Like
I know it's so good, isn't it? Oh.
there's you could paint that with paint. Like I could probably sit down with gouache and spend forever doing that, or acrylic or oil paints or whatever. But I don't have a studio, so I don't have the room to do those things. Like I don't have all those materials with me right now. So
I
it's
think
like
the biggest cool thing actually that I find about this image is it was designed so that at any point you could change all of the colors in it, right? So if you went, actually, I've decided she wears a green shirt, a click of a button, you can change that. Like that is why digital is amazing. You can have every single material under the sun in your hands and then make them do anything you want, right? You just have to know how to do it.
and you don't have to. I mean, granted, there is kind of a nice thing about being able to commit to something and going with it. So if like you choose to make, you know, the light in the background red instead of blue, that's a commitment if you're doing it traditionally. But there's something really nice about not having to worry about that commitment and just being like, I could change it later if I want.
Like the fact that I can just rub these clouds away now. It's like, what?
So I don't know. Like, I really want to get into it just because I don't know.
It'd be awesome. I want to see you do stuff. So cool.
Well, and then I think maybe it'll make me do more. I don't know. Like I should be sketching more often than I am, which I don't sketch very much at all anymore, and I don't know why. I always say that I just don't have time, but I do have time. I just don't use it sketching.
Don't you do the figure drawing classes?
I do. I go. It's once a week on Wednesday nights for 3 hours, but I just don't think that's enough. Because when I was younger, I mean, if I had a free moment anytime at all ever, like I would be sketching, I would be drawing, I'd be doing something, and I'd fill books and books and books of drawings. And now I do figure drawing on Wednesday nights, and I do the draw along with you guys on the podcast on Monday nights, and that's it. Like nothing else.
Yeah, there has to be more than that. I
used to make comic books. I used to just sit and draw and do all sorts of stuff. And I don't know how or why, but I somehow lost the mentality of having to do it every day. And I'm noticing that I'm even though I'm keeping some of the hand-eye coordination and being able to get the lines down properly where I want them to be, I'm losing the ability to just kind of draw anything the way that I want it, or the way that it looks as quickly and as well as I used to be able to. So I feel like my drawings are a lot worse now than they used to be. It's because I
really?
practice. So,
Practice does make perfect. It is the thing, isn't it?
yeah. And looking through your Instagram right now, I'm just like, oh, geez, Sarah sketches a lot.
I do.
Like, where do you have the time for all this?
Well, I don't have a job. My job is this. This is my job. So
Yeah,
that's where my time is.
You do all the commissions as well. So you're constantly working on commissions, plus you have a business that you're running and a book that you're making.
My daily schedule is I wake up, I feed the cats at 9 a.m. I have lunch, have breakfast even. And then whilst I'm having breakfast, I find and decide what my plan for the day is going to be. I decide on 3 things that must be completed by the end of the day, or I must move on to the next stage by the end of the day. And then maybe I am organized. And then I check all of my little apps and my PA system and check there's nothing I've forgotten. I don't have a meeting or whatever. And then I spend 2 hours sketching. Like I dedicate those 2 hours to sketching. And I do that between breakfast and lunch. That's all I do in that time. Apart from like the paperwork and the emails, then that's the only thing that I do. And then once that's done, I have lunch, and I now have like a nice warmed up hand, and then I start on commissions. And I found that since I started doing that instead of working on commissions first, I create much better and much faster work. And I think it's down to just having a warmed up hand and getting, I have this idea that you have to get rid of the bad drawings in the morning so you have all the good ones in the afternoon. So I've done those 2 hours of sketching, and then I jump into my commission. I'm like, well, I've already planned out exactly where I need to be in this commission, so let's just do it then. And I just work on that and get that done. I do 2 hours of one commission, then I have a 30-minute break, and then I do 2 hours on another commission, and then I cook dinner. So like I have a very, it doesn't feel like a tight schedule. It feels more like relief. Like as soon as I finish one of those things, a little alarm goes off and goes, okay, you can have a break now. And it's just like, okay. And for that moment in time, that 2 hours where I was working on it, it was just very intensely working on it. And then for that 30-minute break, I'm playing video games, relaxing, having some fun. And then I come back into it, very intensely work on a different thing so that I have fresh eyes on that new project. So I try to pack in as much as I can. But at the same time, I also have days where I don't get anything done because I can't get myself out of bed in the morning, right? I have days where like my brain just decides to not work. But the productive days that I have tend to counteract it enough that I get away with it. If that makes sense. I think Ken has posted the pictures.
Yeah, I just looked through those.
Yeah.
Oh, geez. Like, number 7 is ridiculous.
Okay, let's have a scroll, guys. Let's have a scroll. So this is Kenneth Hunt's sketches for animals, like studying animals. Ooh, a sideways one. Oh, that's so Disney.
Yeah.
Shit. Like, it's obviously like realistic proportions, but just the way that it moves and like the circular forms, the 3D-ness, it's so Disney. I love this one, the bottom right one, where he's like, you can see the head has turned in space.
Yeah.
It's stuff like that that if you don't study it and look at it, you don't end up doing. I really love people who end up doing stuff like that. Oh, look at the hippos. I love big cats. Studying a jaguar skin pattern. Crouching lion gesture. Oh, yeah, there we go. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
it's like he has the entire skeletal structure on the bottom with all the bones laid out, and then on the top, if you can, like that section, it's the muscles.
Yeah, it's the muscles that then overlay. Oh, that's so good, dude. That's what I'm talking about. That's what everyone should be doing. This is what you all should be doing. I actually saw a really cool thing that was like this kind of thing, but they started with a photograph. It was like a photograph of a ballerina or something, and then their task was to draw the skeletal structure like overlaid on top of it, so like a separate piece of paper that they drew it on top, and you had to get as absolutely accurate as possible, drawing all like the spinal column and everything, and it just looked like they'd learned so much. It's so cool. Horses, the bane of everyone's existence.
Oh, except for Kenneth, apparently.
Exactly. Wait, look, line of action and stuff. It's all the little notes, like the tiny little notes that are like, this is the thing you need to remember when you're looking back on this and trying to remember it again. Remember these things.
That's what makes a sketchbook a proper sketchbook.
Yeah,
is the notes.
It's the little notes that are just for you.
I always tend to like have a sketchbook.
Oh, look at that!
That I want to be something like this, where it's filled with notes and filled with like how you can be better, but I always get too afraid that all the pieces, like the whole book together as a cohesive book, has to be an art piece in itself.
Oh no,
so all the
I used to do
drawings
that
have
all
to
the
be
time.
like real good drawings, and so you don't want to mess it up with sketches or with like note writing and all of that. And then for some strange reason, like it becomes impossible for me to use a sketchbook properly after a certain point. And then I just can't do it. So I've been just drawing on loose leaf paper for
That's exactly what I did that until I'm literally doing my first ever sketchbook. The one that's on my Instagram is the first ever sketchbook that I've gone, I'm going to try and complete this. I've never completed a sketchbook because I have exactly the same reaction as well. Yeah. I literally would work on just sheets of paper.
Yeah, I recently finished a sketchbook. The whole purpose of that sketchbook was not to have any good drawings in it and to have only sketches and only just doodles and like be silly through the whole thing and write notes. And I don't know if like you're taking notes or you have a doctor's appointment or something, like you write down the times and all that just like randomly on the paper. Like it was meant for that. And so I finally finished through that one, and it's just filled with like random little cartoons and things, which was actually kind of fun because I've been doing a lot of that for a really long time, and just getting back into like drawing little monsters and little characters. Like I did a little comic for a friend of mine for their birthday, and just did a comic of our little friend group. And try to like nail everyone's personalities and things.
Oh,
so
nice.
That was pretty fun. And also really hard to do with like simple cartoon versions of people getting not only their likeness, but their personality to come through in little comics. But I don't know. Everyone said I did a pretty decent job. So I was pretty happy with it.
Good. Do more of it. It'd be awesome.
Yeah, I think I will.
Same Dog's asking, what anatomy books are you using as reference for the muscles? I assume that's aimed at Ken. For me, if you see my Instagram and you see the ones I'm doing, I'm literally using this website called The Inner Body, which I'm using, which is you can like rotate things in 3D and stuff like that. And then the other one that I'm using a lot is literally just Google Images, and I'm looking for trends and patterns across all the images.
Yeah, is that the same you posted in the Artist Lounge?
No, that was something that I found literally today. I saw someone post it. It was like, this looks like it's really good. So I posted a thread in the Artist Lounge, and it's of like 360 scans of people. There's also a project that they're doing with a brain. I didn't get a chance to skull even. I didn't get a chance to actually properly look at it, but I saw all the 360 scans. I was like, I need to show you guys this. So go check that out and see if it's something that you'd find useful.
Yeah, it actually looked amazing. There was like so many.
There was so much.
Like every single like I don't know angle of the body and a bunch of different figures, different weights and everything as well. My only complaint about it was like they had all of the women and it had all of the men, and then when it gets to the clothing and you like to have like the weight and volume of the clothing, all the men's clothing was baggy and all the women's clothing was skin tight. So it was basically like seeing the form of the woman as the nude.
Yeah.
And so it's like, do they really have to be wearing a skin tight shirt and yoga pants?
Yeah, that teaches me nothing. Like,
yeah, it's like I want the weight, I want the folds, I want the form of the clothing and how it fits on the body, not just like the body that I already see a little further up that's already nude, and then just drawing lines that are clothing lines.
This does not help me.
It's like I want to see how folds fall over things. So, because I mean, it makes sense. Like, let's say, you know, if like guys don't have breasts, so the way how your shirt folds down over breasts, like that's something that would be really good to be able to, if you're drawing anatomy, like be able to draw and do it correctly, as opposed to just like,
and how it's different on different things. Like the shirt that I'm wearing at the moment, it's got elastic in it, so it does go like, it's like tightens up to me, but it's also a little bit loose. You can see like the way it kind of crinkles up if I lean forward and stuff like that. Whereas if say there were I've got quite small boobs, so if there was a lady with quite larger boobs and she wore a very loose top, you'd see it go like straight down in front of her.
Yeah.
And then if she wore a top like the one that I've got, it's going to be way tighter in on her and like curve all the way around. It's things like that that like you just have to look at pictures and look at life, and it would be nice if that website had that. I think the website is a great reference site, but don't look at it as like absolutely perfect, because I did a quick skim and I noticed a few places where perhaps the model like clips into itself, because it's a CG model. They do that, so don't take it as gospel, but use it to like, I always say look for patterns and look for general movement. So look at the way weight tends to move, and then the idea is that if you can master those like those rules, those recurring patterns, rather than perhaps being able to exactly draw the face in this exact way, if you can master those patterns, you can recreate it yourself and create your own characters out of it. That's what I always aim to do anyway.
Yeah, same.
Oh, everyone in chat's feeling so inspired. Oh, good.
Yeah, I'm as well. Just kind of like seeing all this stuff.
You know what? This is why we shouldn't have Mike on the podcast, because we're ending up inspired and not depressed.
I'll be sure to tell him that.
Mike, I love you. It's fine.
Oh, geez. Like, Mike, you're out.
We're replacing you with Tim and Ken. It's fine. Awesome. Brilliant. Well, it's now 5:30 in the morning, and I spoke more than I was meant to. If my voice is dead tomorrow, I hate you all. But no, this has been really fun. I really enjoyed getting back into this.
Yeah. You just have to learn to like to drink hot liquids.
I've actually done that now. I've now gotten to the point where like, and the only thing I'll drink is my lemsip teas with like honey in them. And it's just like, I don't actually like the experience of this, but my throat feels like a bajillion times better. So yeah, this is acceptable. But I actually finished my piece. I'm well happy. I haven't finished a piece on this podcast for like 4 weeks. So I'm happy, Bunny.
Yeah, it's good too. It's
Oh,
nice.
thank you. Oh my god, everyone's making jokes. Drokart's like, Mike's voted off the island. Schminify's like, Mike, you are the weakest link. Goodbye. Goodbye. Mike, you are the weakest link. Goodbye.
And he's not here to defend himself.
Oh, right. Okay. Let's wrap this up then. So no one posted any more artwork in the thread. So if you are watching the non-live version of this, please go over to Artist Lounge or reddit.com/r/Artist Lounge, and you'll find a Reddit post with like a very similar name to the podcast that's live right now. And if you drew anything during the show, you can post it in there. If you've got anything you want to share with us, you can post it in there, and we'll talk about it on the next show. Otherwise, we will see you same time next week. Thank you for watching. Bye!